Chapter 871, Rock Dragon Eye. The sky was covered in clouds, the white snow was like dust. All of the peaks were standing in the snow, as the forests were covered in layers of snow, they were like a vast number of clouds. A rainbow shot out from the first peak, it flew into the air like a meteor. The peak owners of Snowy Mountain turned their gazes towards it. Old Ancestor has sent an order again. I wonder who will receive the order to collect immortal materials this time. Hopefully it isn't me. The rainbow drew a beautiful arc in the sky, it flew directly into the third peak. The other peak owners sighed in relief secretly. Inside the third peak, Fairy Lishan was dressed in a bright leather dress, it was silver at the bottom, with the images of the grassland in the night sky with the moon on it. This was clothing in the style of northern plains. Fairy Lishan wore her precious pearl headband as she shut her eyes, her mind was looking inside her immortal aperture. In her immortal aperture, there were birds chirping and flowers growing, it was warm like spring, completely the opposite of the icy nature of Snowy Mountain blessed land. In the lush forests, mountains and greenery were like paintings, there were large numbers of precious materials, a small number of desolate plants, as well as ancient desolate plants. At the center of the immortal aperture, along a line of waist-deep grass, there was a small mountain. This tiny mountain was more inconspicuous than a small mound at first glance. But it was minuscule mountain, one of the few secluded domains in this world recorded in. In this minuscule mountain, large numbers of mini-men were flying in and out. They were flying in the lush grass, due to their tiny bodies, these blades of grass were like tall trees. The mini-men were working laboriously in the grass like bee groups. Fairy Lishan was paying close attention to them, after watching them for a while, she was satisfied. When she had obtained minuscule mountain, the mini-men were unwilling to cooperate with her initially, they were wary of her. But Fairy Lishan was not an incompetent person, she used the carrot and the stick tactic, she helped a mini-man puppet to become their leader, and killed all of the resistance without mercy. The mini-men were not as stubborn as the feather men, but there were also loyal members. After Fairy Lishan killed 40% of the mini-men, she finally subdued the mini-man tribe in Minuscule Mountain. Thereafter, Fairy Lishan moved Minuscule Mountain into her immortal aperture. With the help of the mini-men, the wood path resources in her immortal aperture were produced at a rapid speed. Hairy men were born with refinement path Dao marks, they had Gu refinement talent. Feathermen were born with cloud path Dao marks and had wings, they could fly freely in the sky. Mini-men were born with wood path Dao marks, the places where they lived in would have vegetation growing rapidly. They even had inheritances passed down from many generations before, they were the race that was most skilled at growing plants and flowers. Mini-men are quite extraordinary. My Jadine grass is a rank 7 immortal material. It had been wilting all along, but after these mini-men lived here for half a year, this field expanded into a miniature grass field. All the Jadine grass have a lot of vitality, unfortunately, the number of mini-men is very small now. The earlier battle caused half of them to die. If I had the previous number of mini-men, my pressure would be halved now. Two-letter Gu at the same time. Fairy Lishan willed and sensed 2 information path Gu worms, one came from the outside world, flying through space, while the other came out of her blessed land using the moving perspective cup Gu. Fairy Lishan opened her eyes, she first grabbed one of the letters, holding the rainbow from the sky in her hands. She glanced at it as she directed her consciousness into the Gu. As she had expected, it was old ancestor Shui whose orders for her to collect immortal materials. Concealing heaven dust, rock dragon eye, elephant tusk flame, this time, he wants me to gather 3 immortal materials. Fairy Lishan frowned deeply. Among these 3 immortal materials, rock dragon eye and elephant tusk flame were rank 7 immortal materials, while concealing heaven dust was a rank 8 immortal material that was very precious. Elephant tusk flame was a tiny lump of flame that burned in the elephant's tusk after an ancient desolate beast elephant died. This lump of fire was about the size of a pea, once it finished burning the tusk, it would be extinguished upon contact with the outside air. An ancient desolate beast elephant was in existence equal to rank 7 Gu immortals. After the elephant died, its tusk would not generate the flame every time. With so many conditions to fulfill, one could see how precious the elephant tusk flame was. Even in the market of the 5 regions, treasure yellow heaven, it was a rare immortal material. And compared to the elephant tusk flame, rock dragon eye and concealing heaven dust were much harder to get. Concealing heaven dust was only found in yellow heaven of the immemorial 9 heavens. But because yellow heaven was already destroyed by Renzu's children, Fairy Li Shan had to first find a yellow heaven fragment world. And this fragment world had to be big enough with enough Dao marks to allow her to enter and explore it. After entering the yellow heaven fragment world, Fairy Li Shan would have to prepare special methods to collect the concealing heaven dust. During the process of collecting it, she would face a lot of trouble. Fairy Li Shan would rather pay a huge price to buy the concealing heaven dust in treasure yellow heaven. As for the rock dragon eye, it referred to the eyes of the ancient desolate beast rock dragon. This rock dragon was not an ordinary fierce beast. In the graveyards of Rockman tribes, there would be a lot of buried Rockman corpses. As they accumulated over time, one day, they would attract lightning to strike them. As the thunderbolt strikes the graveyard, a rock dragon would be born. Similarly to the rock men, the rock dragon's body was made of rocks. During the immemorial antiquity era and the remote antiquity era, variant humans were in control of most of the world. Only super forces of Rockman tribes or large-sized Rockman tribes with a long history would have rock dragons in them. Even though there was Renzu, his 10 children, and even Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable and Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, there were very few humans in the world. The rock dragon was the guardian beast of the Rockmen tribe. The Rockmen all believe that the rock dragon is the revival of their ancestors. During the wars of the variant humans, the rock dragon had once been in the spotlight. They were among the best beasts of war in the world. Rock dragons did not have any sense of pain, they had sturdy defenses and were extremely bold. Even if they were hurt, if there were any Rockmen willing to sacrifice themselves and go to the rock dragon's area of injury, they would be able to convert themselves into a part of the rock dragon, allowing its wounds to heal instantly. This was an absurd battle tactic. The other races had a huge headache dealing with it. But times were different now. It was extremely hard for Fairy Li Shan to find a rock dragon. Because Rockman tribes were very rare now, most Rockmen were the slaves of Gu immortals. Even if Fairy Li Shan found a rock dragon, with her battle strength, she would not be able to defeat a rock dragon, a top-tier war beast of the remote antiquity era that had extremely high defenses. Thus, even though the rock dragon eye was a rank 7 immortal material, it was harder to obtain than the rank 8 immortal material, concealing heaven dust. Old Ancestor Xuehu is giving us peak owners tougher and tougher missions. Out of these 3 immortal materials, only the elephant tusk flame is slightly simple. Not only is strength a concern in obtaining concealing heaven dust and rock dragon eye, it is extremely dependent on luck. Sigh, if I have good luck, I would be able to just buy it from treasure yellow heaven. Fairy Li Shan sighed deeply. Her earlier investment in the mini-man and minuscule mountain had already started to see effect. She was going to reap the benefits now. With He Lu Lan's determination to become independent, she had rejected any additional funding. Thus, during this period, Fairy Li Shan was accumulating wealth rapidly. This accumulation was twice as fast as before. It took too much time and effort to obtain the concealing heaven dust and rock dragon eye. Fairy Li Shan would rather expend her wealth instead of expending time and energy. After receiving the letter from old ancestor Xuehu, Fairy Li Shan checked the second letter Gu. There were only a few people who could make the letter appear directly in her immortal aperture. Fairy Li Shan checked it and saw that the sender of the letter Gu was Fang Yuan. In this letter, Fang Yuan promised much benefits, as he asked Fairy Li Shan to assist him in killing an immortal zombie from Northern Plains Zombie Alliance. Fang Yuan. Fairy Li Shan muttered. She left her bed and walked around. She lowered her head and was in deep thought as she slowly paced. When she got to the window and saw the snowflakes outside, she sneered while staring at the silent peaks. This Fang Yuan, earlier he disguised himself as Sha Huang, joining Zombie Alliance. Now, he wants me to help him kill an immortal zombie. He definitely has some motive. Promising me great benefits, he is really affluent. After all, he obtained a lot of resources from Dongfang tribe, as well as getting Dongfang Changfan's wisdom path inheritance. During this period, he must have been developing smoothly and rapidly. Right now, the situation in Northern Plains is full of turbulence. The investigation team of Central Continent Gu Immortals is still hiding somewhere. In this situation, Fang Yuan still wants to strike. It seems that the benefit of Zombie Alliance is extremely important to him. Does he want to claim another Immortal Zombie's contribution points, and obtain the research results of Zombie Alliance in the ways to revive and get rid of the zombie status? Thinking of this, Fairy Li Shan squinted her eyes. Central Continent, Heavenly Court. White Jade Palace was very bright. For Gu Immortals, standing at the north, south, east, and west, were surrounding the rank 9 Immortal Gu House, Heaven Overseeing Tower, in the middle. The old Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord stood at the east. He held his walking stick as a brilliant light flashed in his aged eyes. Recovery of fate begins now. The walking stick in his hand was raised in the air, as if it hit a steel rock. It gave off a clear sound. Immediately, light burst out. Countless Gu worms flew about and formed a gigantic Gu formation. Traces and traces of lights and rainbows merged together, forming a huge formation array that filled the surroundings. The female Gu Immortal, Baizang Shui, who was here for the first time, shouted in shock, "This refinement path Gu formation is a step away from becoming a rank 8 Immortal Gu house." Immortal Gu houses were in themselves related to a Gu cultivation path, the utmost materialization of formation path. This refinement path Gu formation is quite extraordinary. Fairy Zhang Shui, please look down. At the west area, the person with the appearance of a young man in white clothing, Lian Jiuxing, spoke as he smiled. Next, he grabbed at the air and threw a huge amount of rock dragon eyes in front of him. The rock dragon eyes entered the refinement path Gu formation. In just a few breaths of time, they were completely broken up and fused into the wondrous refinement path Gu formation. So many rock dragon eyes. And such a speed of processing immortal materials. Baizang Shui was lost for words. Hu Immortal Blessed Land, Dang Hun Palace. Humph. Fang Yuan crushed the information path Gu worm in his hand. He was rejected. Still wanting to restrict my development, these narrow-minded and petty women. Fang Yuan's expression was gloomy. Oh. At this time, an information path Gu worm appeared in his immortal aperture. Did Fairy Li Shan change her mind? Fang Yuan stared slightly before checking it. He was very surprised afterwards. This is Langya Land Spirit's request for reinforcements. Chapter 872, Joining Langya's Defensive Battle. After Fang Yuan obtained change form Immortal Gu and merged it into Immortal Killer Move vaguely familiar face, he could now take a much greater variety of appearances. Thus, he wanted to blend into Northern Plains Zombie Alliance again, but the situation was far from good. Because his Sha Huang identity was exposed, Northern Plains Zombie Alliance was now extremely vigilant, and it was not possible for him to smoothly join Zombie Alliance by repeating his previous method. Therefore, Fang Yuan got the idea of using other Zombie Alliance members. As long as he secretly killed one of them and changed into the appearance of this unfortunate fellow, he could infiltrate Northern Plains Zombie Alliance. Fang Yuan had become an immortal in Northern Plains. His body was filled with Northern Plains aura. Zombie Alliance's large door could stop Feng Jiugu, but it could not obstruct him. However, this secret assassination would be filled with difficulties and danger. First of all, the entire process of killing a Zombie Alliance member had to be carried out in secret, without letting any trace of it leak out. It was difficult to accomplish this. Fang Yuan currently had rank 7 battle strength. It was easy for him to defeat an ordinary immortal zombie, and killing them was also possible. But to secretly kill them was exceptionally difficult. Because the commotion during the battle would be huge and could not be controlled. If the immortal zombie wanted to flee, Fang Yuan would have to give chase, but true solid bat wings was not very reliable. If the immortal zombie used information path Gu worms to request for reinforcements, then in the midst of the battle, Fang Yuan would need to have sufficient and accurate means to exterminate these Gu worms. In summary, Fang Yuan had outstanding power in offense, but was still lacking a lot in other aspects. Most of all, he lacked a battlefield killer move. Battlefield killer moves could create an independent battlefield environment that was isolated from the world. Within a battlefield killer move, Gu immortals were usually unable to use information path Gu worms to request reinforcements. Naturally, this was not absolute, there was no such thing as absolute in this world. Also, superior battlefield killer moves could limit the space, thus could prevent the enemy from running everywhere. Immortal battlefield killer moves had another name, they were known as quasi-blessed lands. Once they were used, they could temporarily replicate countless Dao marks, creating a temporary unique battlefield. Most Gu immortals, in fact, did not have immortal battlefield killer moves, only relatively few Gu immortals were in possession of them. Fang Yuan did not have an immortal battlefield killer move, it would be very difficult for him to secretly kill a Northern Plains Zombie Alliance member by himself. Even in his previous life he did not have one, because when he had just obtained his first immortal Gu, he was besieged and had no choice but to self-detonate. He Lulan and Tai Bai Yunxing also did not have one. They had only recently advanced into Gu immortals, even if their immortal apertures were of superior grades, they needed to accumulate their foundations for a long time. However, Fairy Li Shan had one. Pear Orchard was her battlefield killer move. If they could lure an immortal zombie into Pear Orchard, then it was very likely they could secretly kill them. Naturally, even if they succeeded, there were risks. Fang Yuan did not forget Old Lord Kenyang and rest of the group, they were sure to have wisdom path Gu immortals amongst them. And the possibility of them deducing Fang Yuan re-entering Zombie Alliance was very likely. Once the truth was exposed or even a slight trace of it was leaked out, Fang Yuan entering Northern Plains Zombie Alliance would be like entering a tiger's den. Thus, Fairy Li Shan's help was highly necessary. However, Fairy Li Shan rejected Fang Yuan's request, and just as Fang Yuan was thinking of other strategies, a request for reinforcements appeared in his immortal aperture. Ever since Northern Plains Grand Auction event ended, Fang Yuan had stopped contacting Xianxia Land Spirit frequently. This time, however, Xianxia Land Spirit had taken the initiative to contact Fang Yuan, it was to ask for reinforcements. This greatly differed from Fang Yuan's expectations. In Fang Yuan's mind, Xianxia Blessed Land had an extremely deep foundation. In his previous life, Xianxia Blessed Land, this ownerless Blessed Land, had resisted 7 entire waves of invading Gu immortals. Moreover, at the 7th wave, even Feng Jiugu had died in Xianxia Blessed Land. Although Xianxia Blessed Land only had 12 cloud buildings on the surface, under each cloud building was a desolate beast, that meant 12 desolate beasts. And as long as one was not an idiot, they would understand these 12 desolate beasts were only the outermost defensive measures. One should not forget Xianxia Blessed Land's original owner was Long Hair Ancestor. He was known as possibly the #1 refinement path immortal, he had refined 38 immortal Gu throughout his life, not lacking rank 7 and rank 8 among them. This was only the officially recorded number. If his unofficial records were noted, if rumors and so on were taken into consideration, the amount surpassed 100. Thus, Fang Yuan had already surmised that Xianxia Blessed Land's true defenses were the vast number of immortal Gu left behind by Long Hair Ancestor. It was not the desolate beasts. Xianxia Blessed Land was vastly different from other blessed lands. Even without an owner, Xianxia Land Spirit had an unending supply of immortal essence which he could use. It was because Xianxia Blessed Land had the heavenly essence treasure Imperial Lotus that could produce immortal essence. And due to the support of heavenly essence treasure Imperial Lotus, Xianxia Land Spirit could boldly activate immortal Gu, displaying their unique powers. Now, Xianxia Land Spirit is actually taking the initiative to ask me for reinforcements. In my previous life, he could resist until the 7th wave, and this should only be the 4th wave of attacks. Is it because of me that the structure of Northern Plains situation has changed to such a large extent? Has it caused Xianxia Blessed Land to face a much fiercer attack? Fang Yuan's brain worked rapidly. For Xianxia Land Spirit to ask for reinforcements, it could certainly be imagined that the strength of the invaders absolutely surpassed Fang Yuan's individual ability. But often, precious opportunities were hidden in dangerous situations. Langya Blessed Land had a deep accumulation of wealth, and was so rich that even Heavenly Court's greed was incited in Fong Yuan's previous life, forcibly taking down this blessed land. Heavenly Court might have suffered huge losses, but they also benefited a lot even after calculating the loss of Feng Gu. Cooperating with Langya Land Spirit had many benefits. This was already clear from the past dealings. Fong Yuan had bluffed and deceived to seize many benefits from Langya Land Spirit. Langya Land Spirit had a huge hand in his rapid progress after becoming a Gu immortal. Especially in transitioning between the early to middle stages, which was a difficult point to make progress. It was a pity, after the auction in Northern Plains, Fong Yuan's greed and excessive demands led to the land spirit's aversion towards him, which caused the relation between both sides to worsen and reduce to a freezing point. Fong Yuan had tried to cooperate with the land spirit several times, but was answered with an unyielding attitude by the land spirit, asking Fong Yuan to search for a poisonous flower-type immortal material. If I can help the land spirit now, our tense relations will definitely ease up. What's more, I have fixed immortal travel and only need 3 breaths of time to return to Hu immortal blessed land. Even if the enemies are very strong, I should be able to buy 3 breaths of time, right? Fong Yuan pondered. Although Langya Land Spirit had asked for reinforcements, the situation might not be so bad. He had always felt that Langya Blessed Land's foundation was very abundant. In his previous life, it could resist 7 waves of attack, even a powerhouse of this generation like Feng Gu was sacrificed here. This was only the 4th wave of attacks. As he considered it thoroughly, Fong Yuan decided to help Langya Land Spirit. He was not a rash, hot-blooded child like Yu Fei who, when his friends suffered harm, would stand up regardless of gains or losses. He was Fong Yuan, a demonic path Gu immortal. He emphasized profits, coldly calculating gains and losses. Allies were used to bring benefits. What was the point of making friends with each other? As far as Fong Yuan was concerned, allies were only special tools to gain benefits. Coincidentally, Tai Bai Yunxing also came to inquire about the letter. Langya Land Spirit had also sent him a letter for reinforcements. In fact, since Tai Bai Yunxing had restored Langya Blessed Land for the Land Spirit, his relationship with the Land Spirit was much better than that of Fong Yuan. Fong Yuan informed Tai Bai Yunxing of his decision, which Tai Bai Yunxing approved of. Fong Yuan immediately used a stargate to go to Langya Blessed Land. Even though Tai Bai Yunxing had passed the earthly calamity, he still required some time before he could take back his immortal aperture and move around. You're here, Fong Yuan. Langya Land Spirit appeared in front of Fong Yuan. Fong Yuan noticed Langya Land Spirit did not appear tired and had no injuries on his body, and felt even more certain of his previous guess. He laughed. This is your attitude to your life-saving benefactor. Humph. You think I am not aware? Rascal, you wouldn't have even thought of helping me without benefits involved. If not for this situation being urgent, I would not have requested help from you. Langya Land Spirit rolled his eyes. Although he said this, Langya Land Spirit's attitude was already much warmer than before. I will give you the rank 6 Immortal Gu recipe for all-out effort Gu as a reward for repelling the enemies. Langya Land Spirit continued. Fong Yuan snickered, shaking his head. Let's talk about the reward later, after we repel the invading Gu immortals. Fong Yuan did not talk about reward and was worried about the invading enemies, not taking advantage to blackmail. This immediately made Langya Land Spirit very pleased and feel his opinion of Fong Yuan becoming much more pleasant. Follow me. Langya Land Spirit grabbed Fong Yuan's arm, and instantly, they arrived at the highest floor of a cloud building. It could be seen from this that there were large numbers of space path Dao marks in Langya Blessed Land. If it were like Star Form Blessed Land where there were not many space path Dao marks, Star Form Land Spirit could only fly rapidly with no ability to teleport. Fong Yuan observed the surroundings that had already changed greatly. Previously, Langya Blessed Land had a vast area of cloud soil with clear skies, 12 cloud buildings standing adjacent to each other among them. But right now, Fang Yuan's sight was filled with boundless fog, which was so dense one could not even see their hands. The sky could not be seen above, the ground could not be seen below. Langya Land's spirit explained with a serious voice, "This is the Gu formation activated after the blessed land was attacked, 12-wave cloud confusion formation. The 12 cloud buildings are all mortal Gu houses and serve as formation cores of this formation. Look! Those are the invaders." The land spirit waved his sleeve, several mirrors appeared in front of Fang Yuan. Each mirror showed a Gu immortal moving slowly in the vast fog, or charging forward. They are. Fang Yuan's pupils could not help but shrink when he saw these Gu immortals. Qin Baisheng, Jiangyu, He Cheng, Shui Song Zi and He Lang Zi. There were also two others, one was a green-robed wind path Gu immortal who was moving forward rapidly, another was a black-robed Gu immortal who was wearing a mask and was very mysterious. You recognize them? Langya Land's spirit sensed the strange expression on Fang Yuan's face. Fang Yuan nodded, saying with a serious expression, "These people have extraordinary strength, especially the leader, Qin Baisheng, he is a famous rank 7 expert in Northern Plains." I know. If not for this, most of my 12-wave cloud confusion formation would not have been broken down. Now only 5 buildings are left, 2 are already guarded by 2 of Inkman City's Gu immortals. You will guard this one, while I will personally guard another one. The remaining one is left for Tai by Yunsheng. Langya Land's spirit distribution the workload. Fang Yuan frowned, the enemies are too strong, the cloud buildings are only mortal Gu houses, it will be quite difficult to obstruct these people while also protecting the cloud buildings. Chapter 873, Quietly Awaiting Foes. Fang Yuan frowned, he showed a troubled expression. Qin Baisheng, Jiangyu, He Lang Zi, Shui Song Zi, He Lang Zi, and 2 mysterious Gu immortals that he did not know. Among them, only Shui Song Zi and Jiangyu were rank 6 Gu immortals, the rest were rank 7 Gu immortals. Fang Yuan did not have any idea of who the 2 mysterious Gu immortals were. But among the remaining ones, Qin Baisheng, He Lang Zi, and He Cheng were all experienced rank 7s. He Cheng was a Gu immortal of the super force, He tribe, although he had a hidden injury and could not use immortal killer moves, causing his battle strength to decline sharply. He was not at his peak condition, but the immortal Gu Dark Arrow was not to be underestimated. He Lang Zi was a famous transformation path demonic immortal in Northern Plains. He had a strange upbringing and was ruthless and savage, he had 3 immortal level desolate wolf transformations, he had high battle strength. He was once offered recruitment by old ancestor Shuihu, but he turned down the offer. The strongest one was Qin Baisheng. This person had roamed Northern Plains for hundreds of years, as a lone cultivator, he had defeated Lu Hao, Chan Yixiong, New Air Du, killed by Chan Zi, Jade Fire Farmer, Mountain Lord Tian Qin, had a draw with Yuan Rangzun, and managed to escape with his life from 5 Elements Grandmaster. He was a rank 7 Gu immortal, his status in Northern Plains was like Shirley's status in Central Continent. In most people's perspective, he was at the peak of rank 7 battle strength, only rank 8 Gu immortals could suppress him. He was considerably stronger than the level of Old Lord Ken Yang. The scarier thing was, not only did he have outstanding battle strength, he was also very capable in planning. He held the Northern Plains auction and was the biggest winner out of it. Trying to protect the cloud buildings in front of such a person, it was not a strange thing for Fang Yuan to feel very troubled. But Langya Land's spirit patted Fang Yuan's shoulder, saying, "I am not asking you to defend the cloud building, you just need to hold him back. I am trying to stall for time." Humph, these people are too daring, they actually attacked Langya Blessed Land. As long as you can hold on for 30 minutes, I will be able to make these people suffer the severe consequences. Langya Land's spirit spoke with immense confidence. Like what Fang Yuan had guessed, Langya Land's spirit definitely had a trump card that could turn the situation around. In the earlier 3 waves of attacks, Langya Land's spirit had amazing battle results, these 12 desolate beasts would not have been able to accomplish it. Then, What is the thing that Xianxia Land's spirit is relying on? Fang Yuan felt a strong sense of curiosity internally. He did not have any intention to conceal this thought, he asked directly. But Xianxia Land's spirit did not tell him, he only smiled mysteriously. Afterwards, the land spirit gave Fang Yuan some instructions and gave him a letter Gu before teleporting away. The letter Gu recorded the technique to manipulate the cloud buildings. This cloud building was lent to Fang Yuan by Xianxia Land's spirit, he could manipulate it freely. Fang Yuan looked at it 2 or 3 times, he memorized the manipulation technique to heart. Next, he practiced it a little and got the hang of it. The cloud buildings were the formation cores of the 12-wave cloud confusion formation. Star thoughts moved in Fang Yuan's mind as he gained much understanding of the 12-wave cloud confusion formation after learning about the cloud buildings. In other words, this was a fog formation that resembled a maze. Even though it was not elevated to the level of a battlefield killer move, it was only 1 step away. It was not that Xianxia Land's spirit did not have battlefield killer moves, but to set up a battlefield killer move, Dao marks needed to be carved. The newly added Dao marks would not be perfectly compatible with the Dao marks of this world, there would be conflicts and unsuitability. This would cause damage to Xianxia blessed land itself. Thus, the land spirit did not do that. To just stall for time, 12-wave cloud confusion formation was already reaching the limits of a Gu formation. When a Gu immortal is inside the formation, their 5 senses would be messed up and they would not be able to tell the direction, between left or right, or even end up just walking in circles on the spot. Only an investigative immortal killer move would allow the Gu immortal to navigate their way through the Gu formation. Only by destroying all 12 cloud buildings would this formation be entirely destroyed. If they did not have an investigative immortal killer move, then the Gu immortal could only move about randomly, hoping to see if they could find a cloud building. This was purely up to luck. Fortunately for them, once the Gu formation was set up, the 12 cloud buildings could not be moved, otherwise, Gu immortals without an investigative immortal killer move would never be able to find it, not even luck could help. Fang Yuan sat on the cloud bed as he opened many observation mirrors, checking the surroundings of this cloud building. His authority was only limited to this cloud building, he could only check the surroundings of this cloud building to an extent. There was only vast fog in the mirror, not a single Gu immortal showed up. Fang Yuan did not lack patience, he waited silently. A moment later, a Gu immortal appeared in the mirror. She was wearing a purple dress, she had a high nose and deep beautiful eyes, her eyebrows were thick and long, her skin was slightly dark as her entire body oozed with an alluring aura. It was Fairy Xianxia. Fang Yuan was shocked, he immediately thought about her dark limit immortal Gu. He Lulan had the great strength true martial physique, before becoming an immortal, she had used dark limit immortal Gu, it had entered He Lulan's body and circulated through it, concealing the aura of the great strength true martial physique. Initially, He Lulan's plan was to seize her dark limit immortal Gu, before they were exposed. But unfortunately, Fairy Xiangyu's traces were hard to find, before this plan was even put into play, it had failed. Later, when He Lulan was chasing after He Cheng, this plan was even more impossible. Dark limit immortal Gu, if I can obtain it. Fang Yuan's gaze shined, he felt somewhat of a pity inside, unfortunately, in this current situation, even if I can capture Fairy Xiangyu alive, I would not obtain dark limit immortal Gu. It was very hard to take immortal Gu, hope was usually very slim. After all, only a thought was needed to make the immortal Gu self-detonate. Just as Fang Yuan thought about this, Fairy Xiangyu actually turned this way and that, going on a detour around Fang Yuan's territory, heading towards another direction and leaving this place. Once she was out of Fang Yuan's territory, Fairy Xiangyu vanished from the mirror. A while later, a second Gu immortal entered Fang Yuan's territory. The mirror clearly showed his image. It was Qin Bai Sheng. Fang Yuan's gaze was grave, he watched as Qin Bai Sheng got closer and closer. Undoubtedly, out of all the Gu immortal experts here, the one Fang Yuan most wanted to not face was Qin Baisheng. Fang Yuan has not found out that after Qin Baisheng fought Fengjiu Gu, he had already recovered his original strength. But with just Qin Baisheng's previous performance, he was already at the level of Central Continent's Shirlei. This type of opponent was far too strong. If he really discovered this cloud building, Fang Yuan immediately decided that he would only match a few blows with him before retreating. Even though he was reinforcing Langya Land's spirit, this support was only situational. Fang Yuan had never thought of sacrificing his life for Langya Land's spirit. In addition, Langya Land's spirit also had his trump cards. It was not time for Fang Yuan to take a risk. Qin Baisheng got closer and closer to the cloud building. He had an investigative immortal killer move. He walked straight ahead. Fang Yuan controlled this cloud building. He was right beside Qin Baisheng's path of advancement. They were about 300 steps away from each other linearly. The range of the investigative immortal killer move was definitely more than 300 steps, but it was hindered by the 12-wave cloud confusion formation. Once Qin Baisheng got to a certain proximity, the cloud building would appear in his investigative range. That way, Qin Baisheng would charge directly to the cloud building. Fang Yuan's first defensive battle would end up as a failure. But this type of failure was not scary. Fang Yuan had no psychological burden if he failed. To Fang Yuan, no matter how many losses he has, his fighting spirit would not dwindle, it would not change his plans and his mind would not be disrupted. But soon, a change occurred. Qin Baisheng's expression suddenly changed. He turned towards the northeast direction and flew rapidly. Not only is their information path technique immortal level, it is extremely useful against the Gu formation. They can actually transmit information inside the Gu formation. Almost at the same time, Fang Yuan heard Langya Land's spirit's surprised voice. Fang Yuan nodded lightly, replying, "Since they attacked us, they definitely came prepared. But from your words, did they not expose this technique last time?" The land spirit was silent for a moment before answering, "No. Earlier, the cloud buildings were defended by desolate beasts. They were fighting alone and killing the desolate beasts to destroy the cloud buildings. But this time, Mo Tan Sang and the desolate beasts are defending the cloud buildings together. They must have changed their tactics after seeing that there was a defending Gu immortal, and went to reinforce each other." Fang Yuan's expression turned grim. "Not good. Mo Tan Sang is the leader of Inkman City. It is already quite generous of him to come and reinforce us, but he would have to conceal his appearance in battle. Once his relationship with you is exposed, Northern Plains Inkman City would face a huge crisis. If Mo Tan Sang fights under such restraints, against a powerful foe that has the superiority in numbers, he would not be able to protect the cloud building." The land spirit responded immediately. This 12-wave cloud confusion formation uses Langya Blessed Land's own Dao marks to divert the enemies and split them up, forcing them to fight individually. In theory, it can isolate rank 7 and rank 6 information path immortal killer moves, preventing enemies from communicating. Even if they have whole Earth Gu set up, it is useless. But these people are able to communicate with each other now. It is likely related to the previous few waves. Sigh. I should not have been greedy over the profits of selling Gu immortal slaves. I should have killed them. Among these people, there should be someone who has quite an impressive wisdom path technique. I had already cleansed all of the memories of the Gu immortal slaves from their souls. Langya Land's spirit analyzed it thoroughly. He felt much regret. Fang Yuan agreed with Langya Land's spirit's analysis. Gu immortals battle with their wits. They were all brilliant characters. Qin Baisheng only did one action of assisting his ally, and he exposed so many details. Similarly, since the last few waves were related to his intelligence, Langya Blessed Land also leaked out many secrets as well. "Can I see the battle scene over there?" Fang Yuan requested. On the mirror, the scene of the battle was displayed. Mo Tan Sang was riding on a desolate beast, fighting with Gu immortal He Cheng. Mo Tan Sang was a rank 6 Gu immortal. He was at a disadvantage. He mainly cultivated Chi path, but now he was using other methods to fight. He Cheng had a hidden injury, but he was still rank 7. He did not use Dark Arrow immortal Gu, but he still had control over the battle. Most importantly, the reason was that Mo Tan Sang was afraid of exposing his identity. He had his Inkman city to defend, he could not allow it to face danger. Thus, he only rode on the desolate beast, letting it fight primarily, while he used healing and defensive techniques. The desolate beast was peerless in bravery, but it lacked the wisdom to inspect the battle situation. But with Mo Tan Sang's attentive assistance, even though the desolate beast was at a disadvantage, it was still full of energy, it could hold on for a long time. But Fang Yuan knew that Qin Bai Sheng was coming soon, the desolate beast would definitely die at that time. While Fang Yuan was concerned with Mo Tan Sang's situation, a third figure entered close proximity with Fang Yuan. Zi, he didn't receive any orders to go to that battlefield. Fang Yuan was perplexed, he had some guesses internally. A moment later, Zi found Fang Yuan's cloud building. His movement paused for a moment before shooting towards the cloud building at lightning speed. Fang Yuan stood up too, he had a stern expression. Battle erupted at once. Chapter 874, Killed by One Slap. Among the 7 Gu immortals who were invading Langya Blessed Land, the one Fang Yuan wanted to face the most was Zi. Because Zi was the one with the lowest cultivation level among them, his battle strength was also likely to be the lowest. At the same time, Fang Yuan had fought Zi before. During their previous battle, Zi was beaten back by the Strength Path Phantom Army, he left in a pitiful state. In other words, Zi had once lost to Fang Yuan. With Fang Yuan's experience, he knew about Zi's foundation. But I cannot be careless in this battle. Fang Yuan's expression was serious, looking at Zi in the mirror, getting closer to the cloud building that he was in, he did not have disdain or arrogance inside. A lion uses its full strength even when hunting rabbits, Fang Yuan had a vigilant nature. Furthermore, in this battle, Fang Yuan had many concerns. His first concern was that this was not a solo battle, it was a huge fight between the invaders and Langya Blessed Land. If Fang Yuan and Zi fought, would the other side send reinforcements? That was very likely to happen. His second concern was Zi's increase in battle strength. In Langya Blessed Land, the invaders could not use any mortal Gu, the fact that Zi could get this far meant that he had at least one immortal Gu. This secret was easily exposed. Because Zi's speed in reaching Fang Yuan was extremely fast, he was using a true immortal killer move. It seems that in this battle, I have to plot and sneak attack him, ensuring my advantage. Even if someone reinforces him later, my pressure would be much lower. Malicious thoughts were moving rapidly in Fang Yuan's mind. When plotting against others, malicious thoughts were most effective. Fang Yuan was very experienced with this. Zi progressed rapidly. The scene before him was stagnant, all he saw was white fog that filled his entire vision. As he flew rapidly, the cold winds were blowing on him, but he felt extremely excited. This is the difference between Immortal Gu and Mortal Gu, it truly is spectacular. Zi experienced the joy of flying using an immortal killer move, a portion of his mind was concentrating on his own immortal aperture. In his immortal aperture, there was an ice path Immortal Gu, it was quite massive. It was around the size of an average horse, the entire Immortal Gu looked like a heart, it was an icy statue that looked very vivid, frost energy was emanating from it. This was Ice Heart Immortal Gu. Ice Heart Immortal Gu was not Zi's possession, it was lent to him by Shadow Sect's Qin Bai Sheng, in order to boost his strength when invading Langya Blessed Land. Not only did Qin Bai Sheng give Zi this rank 6 Immortal Gu, he even gave him several immortal killer moves that used Ice Heart Immortal Gu as the core, encompassing attack, defense, movement, healing, and others. Zi was originally a Snow Path Gu Immortal, but Snow Path and Ice Path were twins, they were almost indistinguishable and closely related. This Ice Path Immortal Gu and its killer moves were very suitable for Zi. Ice Heart Immortal Gu emitted bone-chilling frost energy, but Xianxia's heart was burning with passion. Qin Baisheng has promised Xianxia before moving off for this mission, if they achieved their goal this time, he would give that ice path immortal Gu to Xianxia as his reward. Thus, Xianxia was full of motivation. Ever since they entered the blessed land, he was working very enthusiastically. After all, back then he was searching for wooden chicken immortal Gu. He did not stint on subsidizing Ma tribe in the struggle for the imperial court. Right now there was such a good chance, and Ice Heart Immortal Gu was much more compatible with him than Wooden Chicken Immortal Gu. He was definitely moved. Cloud building. Xianxia's figure halted, he shouted in surprise. In the endless white fog before him, a tall building appeared. Xianxia soon became overjoyed. To think that my luck is so good, I actually found a cloud building. The mission Qin Baisheng gave him was to find the formation cores of the 12 cloud buildings inside the 12-wave cloud confusion formation and destroy them. If I can destroy a cloud building alone, that would be a huge merit. According to our earlier agreement for rewards, I will obtain quite a sum. But each cloud building is defended by a desolate beast, I should be careful. Soon after, Xianxia calmed down. As if it had heard his thoughts, a desolate beast descended from the cloud building, jumping towards him. This desolate beast was huge like an elephant. It was yellow-brown in color, and thick fur covered more than half of its body. It was the yellow jade lion desolate beast that Fang Yuan had picked up in Starry Sky Grotto Heaven, and had given to Langya Land Spirit. The yellow jade lion did not make a sound, it moved like lightning as it charged towards Xianxia. Just in time. Xianxia showed an excited expression with much battle intent, but his body retreated backwards instead. He was very vigilant. The yellow jade lion's attack did not hit, instead, Xianxia increased the distance between them. The latter waved his sleeve and a huge blizzard blew out. The blizzard howled as lumps of snow as large as eggs flew towards the yellow jade lion. This was not a mortal killer move, it was the immortal killer move, cold condensed snow. Only an immortal killer move could be used in this situation, mortal killer moves could not even be used in this place. The yellow jade lion could not open its eyes, cold frost energy was spreading, forming a thick layer of frost on its body. The yellow jade lion's body shook itself, most of the frost was shrugged off, it continued running towards Xianxia. Xianxia's gaze was focused on the yellow jade lion's fur, he snorted in disdain. His immortal killer move had insufficient attacking power, but the frost energy would invade the body and affect the enemy's speed and movement. The yellow jade lion did not have a large size among desolate beasts, but it had great strength and agility. Xianxia used this move to weaken the yellow jade lion's speed advantage. But the yellow jade lion was a desolate beast, and it had very thick fur. If it were another desolate beast, its flesh and blood might have been frozen by the frost energy. But the yellow jade lion had the traits of its species, it resisted this move and only its fur was frozen. Xianxia was not adept at close combat, he liked to fight at long range. After seeing the yellow jade lion closing in, he retreated again. Immortal killer move, Ice Trace. He faced the yellow jade lion as he flew backwards and retreated. Along the path that he retreated, frost gathered as the ground became an icy path. The yellow jade lion's frontal assault was slowed greatly when it stepped onto this icy trail. Xianxia retreated rapidly, after making sure there was a huge distance between them, he laughed, "Beast, take my penetrating ice blade." He raised his hand and slashed at the yellow jade lion, which was far away. Crack! A huge ice blade formed in the air instantly, the ice blade flew down from above, it was fast and sharp, hitting the yellow jade lion's back harshly. The yellow jade lion growled in pain, blood splattered, but was quickly frozen and became solid. The penetrating ice blade shattered like glass, but the frost energy inside directly spread into the yellow jade lion's body, its offensive power came in multiple forms, overwhelming the opponent, it was hard to defend against, this was a vicious and ruthless move. The yellow jade lion growled at the sky, the sound waves causing ripples in the clouds. Its 4 claws were glowing with fire, its speed increased and it could dodge with greater flexibility. The yellow jade lion had large numbers of mortal goo worms in its body. This was intentionally produced by Lang Yalan's spirit. Because they were on the side defending the blessed land, the yellow jade lion could use all of its mortal goo worms. But the frost energy was inside its body, the yellow jade lion's speed fell greatly. Xianxia had the advantage. He continued to use immortal killer moves to attack the yellow jade lion. The situation was getting worse for the yellow jade lion, wounds were piling up on its body, it was getting slower. When it coughed blood, what came out was not warm blood, but cold frozen blood. Ha ha ha, great, this feels great. Xianxia laughed loudly in a carefree manner. He had used all of the immortal killer moves that Qin Bai Sheng gave to him. He could feel the power of having immortal killer moves. In the past, desolate beasts greatly troubled him, but after getting bombarded by his immortal killer moves, this one could only run around and growl pitifully. Next is the final move, Ice Heart Lock. I have to test its power as well. Xianxia stopped running, he advanced and charged towards the yellow jade lion. He was extremely fast, like an eagle trying to capture food in the sky. Before the yellow jade lion reacted, its goo worms had already felt Xianxia's immense aura and had activated an armor made of light on the yellow jade lion's body. Humph! Child's play. Xianxia's eyes shined with cruelty, he waved his hand as he used an immortal killer move, penetrating Ice Blade, again. Bam! The ice blade hit the yellow jade lion's back, breaking into pieces. The armor of light made by mortal goo did not even last for a moment before it was destroyed by the ice blade effortlessly. A deep wound that revealed the bone was made on the yellow jade lion's back. The yellow jade lion cried out in pain, it could not hold on anymore, it sprawled on the ground. Xianxia stepped on the yellow jade lion's back, he suddenly lied down and placed both hands on the yellow jade lion's body. Crack crack. Soft sounds of ice forming could be heard. First, it was a thin layer of ice growing on the yellow jade lion's back, with Xianxia at the center, the ice rapidly extended over the yellow jade lion's body. Soon, this thin layer of ice thickened at a rapid speed. Not only that, on the yellow jade lion's body, a similarly powerful frost energy was gathering and freezing its blood, flesh, bones, and even its intestines. Xianxia's expression was pale, he thought to himself inwardly, this ice heart lock is really powerful, it can forcefully freeze even desolate beasts. But this immortal killer move expends way too much immortal essence. After Xianxia noticed this, he wanted to stop. But soon, greed grew inside him, why don't I capture this yellow jade lion alive? I can freeze it first, and thaw it later when I sell it to someone. A living desolate beast is of huge value even in treasure yellow heaven. He he he. Just as he was dreaming about this beautiful future, there was an explosion from the yellow jade lion below him. With a loud bang, a strength path giant hand grabbed onto Xianxia, who was unable to escape in time. Xianxia was flustered, what is this? Ice armor. A thick ice armor appeared on his body, the strength path giant hand grabbed onto the ice armor, as cracks appeared on the armor. Xianxia's lips curled up, he showed a ruthless smile, with this, I can test my defensive killer move's other ability. Ice armor, detonate. With a loud bang, the ice armor exploded, and huge amounts of frost energy filled the surroundings. Fang Yuan's strength path giant hand was pushed back by the huge force. Xianxia used the chance and flew out, but at the next moment, his sinister smile froze. Above his head, a strength path giant hand was prepared and ready to strike. Xianxia flew into the sky, his ice armor had just broken, he could not activate it immediately again. This strength path giant hand slapped him like swatting a fly, as it landed on him, Xianxia was beaten into a lump of meat paste. Chapter 875, 1 vs 2. You killed an enemy Gu immortal. Good, good, good. Fang Yuan had just gotten out of the yellow jade lion's body, when Xianxia land spirit's voice was heard. Fang Yuan's first thought was, it seems that this Xianxia blessed land has lots of sound path Dao marks. Xianxia land spirit could transmit his voice so easily, who immortal land spirit and star form land spirit did not have such an ability. This showed that there were large numbers of sound path Dao marks in Xianxia blessed land. The land spirit was very surprised that Fang Yuan could kill Xianxia. He said, good, 3 times. This was the first time the other party had lost a member since the start of this attack. Fang Yuan, to think that you have such battle strength even though you are already so good at deducing immortal Gu recipes. At this juncture, Xianxia land spirit praised as he sighed. He he he. Fang Yuan laughed too. When he laughed, Xianxia's meat paste had just landed on the floor. Fang Yuan was satisfied with this battle result. The yellow jade lion below him was near death. It was used as a pawn by Fang Yuan to deal with Xianxia. It worked really well. In this battle, Fang Yuan had only used vaguely familiar face and strength path giant hand. He used very few resources to kill Xianxia, while obtaining a huge effect. By this point, Fang Yuan deeply knew that all kinds of fights were just an extension of economic conflicts. In other words, wars, battles, they were like business. Whatever you put in and gain will all be in the financial aspect. Why was Fang Yuan quite satisfied? Because he put in a minimal amount of resources into this battle, but had created a huge impact. In the terminology of business, he put in a small sum of capital and earned a huge amount of profits in return. Xianxia had immortal Gu with him and a complete set of immortal killer moves. If Fang Yuan fought him head-on, he might not have been able to defeat him even after a dozen rounds of moves. Although Xianxia could only use immortal killer moves here, even though Fang Yuan could use mortal Gu, against the power of immortal killer moves, he had to use immortal killer moves to counter them, right? Thus, his green grape immortal essence expenditure would be huge. Expending a huge amount of immortal essence when Xianxia might not even lose. What's more, if he managed to summon more Gu immortals to help him, Fang Yuan would have to retreat. Battles between Gu immortals were not rigid duels where each person exchanged one move at a time, they were filled with schemes and plots. Fang Yuan had deduced that Xianxia had low battle strength, and as a member of Snowy Mountain Blessed Land, he was an outsider among the invading Gu immortals. He also deduced that Xianxia had immortal Gu. Most importantly, Fang Yuan knew what Xianxia had done in the previous imperial court contest. Xianxia had a huge desire for immortal Gu. Fang Yuan knew that. Thus, he easily deduced the reason why Xianxia had an immortal Gu, as well as his current state of mind. As the saying goes, know yourself and your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Xianxia knew nothing about Fang Yuan, and he was also an outsider. It seemed that he did not receive Qin Baisheng's warning. If Qin Baisheng had told Xianxia that the cloud buildings had Gu immortals defending them, Xianxia would not have been so careless. What was more fatal was that earlier, the invaders had attacked ruthlessly, destroying many cloud building formation cores, while killing many desolate beasts. After every battle, Qin Baisheng would send out the information and inform everyone. Qin Baisheng's actions were understandable. Because when Gu immortals were split up and searching for the formation cores aimlessly, they might feel very uncertain from detecting nothing and experience a drop in morale. When Xianxia heard the notifications, he felt that his side was having a landslide victory. His morale was high. His loss to Fang Yuan was also because of the same reason that an arrogant army was bound to lose. In contrast, Fang Yuan was scheming and devious. He had a huge advantage as the hidden party. Of course, his guesses could have been wrong. After all, they were all estimations. But in fact, he had a complete understanding of Xianxia's mental state. He even hid inside the yellow jade lion's body deviously. Xianxia has an investigative immortal killer move. He had scanned the yellow jade lion's body at least 3 times. But he was afraid that the yellow jade lion might have a wild immortal Gu on it. If it attacked while he was distracted, he would be in trouble. Because Xianxia did not find any immortal Gu, he became even more careless. Fang Yuan's vaguely familiar face had great importance during this process. If he did not use this killer move to conceal himself, even if he hid inside the yellow jade lion's body, Xianxia would have found him. Because of all these reasons, such a shocking result occurred. Gu immortals were all dragons among men. If Xianxia was not careless, with his current strength, he could totally fight Fang Yuan head-on. Even if he was slightly weaker, he could definitely drag out the battle for some time. But it was a pity that his opponent was Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan had his previous life's memories. In nice words, they could be called wisdom, but bluntly speaking, they allowed him to scheme deviously. He could use a portion of his strength and unleash it with multiple times the effect. Xianxia Land's spirit, I killed Xianxia, how will you reward me? Xianxia's immortal aperture was destroyed, everything inside it was destroyed as well, but his Dao marks have all gone to this blessed land. Fang Yuan smiled as he asked. Ha ha ha, don't worry, you will be heavily rewarded after the battle. I hope you can defend this cloud building well. Mo Tan Sang is already heavily injured, he barely escaped, his cloud building was destroyed. You have Xianxia's soul, we need to search it and find out these people's details. The land spirit replied. Fang Yuan's gaze became slightly firmer. This was not the first time he had captured a Gu immortal soul. Back then in Tai Bai Blessed Land, Tai Bai Yunxing did not notice it, but here in Xianxia Blessed Land, all of it was exposed to Xianxia Land spirit. As for Mo Tan Sang losing his building, it was very normal. This did not differ from Fang Yuan's expectations. Xianxia died. Qin Baixing stood on the rubble of a cloud building. Suddenly, his body shook and he spoke. What? He has the immortal Gu you lent him, as well as a complete set of immortal killer moves. How did he die suddenly? He Cheng, who was beside him, felt a great shock. After Xianxia died, He Cheng's pressure amplified. Among the people in Shadow Sect, even though He Cheng was rank 7, his battle strength was quite weak. He was a natural ally of Xianxia. He Cheng's constant worry was not the blessed land, but the mysterious allies around him. He fell into their trap. Qin Baixing thought about it for a few moments, his eyes shined brilliantly. In a frontal fight, unless a rank 8 Gu immortal attacked, Xianxia would have lasted for some time. In Xianxia Blessed Land, there are definitely no rank 8 Gu immortals. Thus, the most likely possibility is that Xianxia found a cloud building or something important. In order to get the reward that was promised to him, he did not inform anyone else, and because he got new immortal Gu, he wanted to test them. This mentality was used by the enemy and they planted a trap. At the appropriate opportunity, they killed Xianxia. He Cheng drew in a breath of cold air. Then his opponent is not simple, they actually plotted Xianxia's death. Even though he said that, He Cheng was even more wary of Qin Baixing. This Qin Baixing had both brains and brawn. Not only did he have immense battle strength, he could make such a deduction in such a short time with just this much information. In terms of plotting and scheming, they were above his fighting power. Perhaps it was because I was too reluctant to waste our limited communication method. A lesson to be learned. Qin Baixing sighed eerily, but he soon smiled. But we have already dismantled 8 cloud buildings. I have understood the formation cores of these cloud buildings, and made a mortal killer move that can allow us to find the remaining cloud buildings. But in here, to use this mortal killer move, we will need to use immortal killer moves to protect it. He made a mortal killer move just like this. What attainment level does he have? He Cheng's heart jumped. Qin Baixing started to transmit to the others. He called the mysterious black-robed Gu immortal to his side, in order to protect him while he used the mortal and immortal killer moves. This showed that Qin Baixing did not trust He Cheng at all. He even ordered Hui Fengzi and He Langzi to rush to the place where Xianxia died. Qin Baixing lent Xianxia immortal Gu, but he also took the chance to use his immortal level technique on Xianxia, allowing him to track him. This matter was not concealed from Xianxia. When Qin Baixing lent him the immortal Gu, he said, if I do not use tracking methods on you, if you run away after borrowing my immortal Gu, what will I do? Based on the promise of giving him the immortal Gu after the battle, Xianxia relented. Thus, back then, Xianxia smiled and flattered, willingly allowing Qin Baisheng to use the tracking method on him. With the proper direction, Xianxia and Huifengzi quickly got to Xianxia's place of demise. Seeing the lump of meat paste on the ground, Xianxia snorted in disdain, "What a useless fool." Huifengzi flew down and scouted the place. After seeing no traps, he carefully observed Xianxia's mushed corpse. Soon, his gaze firmed. He had a discovery. This is troublesome. The other party has a strength path killer move. Xianxia died from this move. This is a powerful move that has great force. Huifengzi's analysis was correct. Fang Yuan's immortal killer move, Myriad Self, was no longer like before. Even though he could not use Cleanse Soul Immortal Gu, he had Self-Strength Immortal Gu, Pulling Mountain Immortal Gu, and Pulling Water Immortal Gu, these 3 Strength Path Core Gu. It was uncommon for 3 Strength Path Immortal Gu to be perfectly fused into one immortal killer move. Xianxia had some doubts regarding Huifengzi's words. In fact, he had deep wariness towards all human Gu immortals. He descended as well, standing beside Xianxia's corpse, his head turned into a wolf's head. As his wolf pupils shined eerily, they shined with a green light as he looked around. At the same time, he sniffed, trying to find some important information. Soon, Xianxia's expression turned ugly. He said solemnly, "Rank 7 Strength Path, it is truly rare. Is this domination immortal?" But he continued, "No matter what, let's destroy this cloud building first." Xianxia was like a wild beast. He acted very directly. Huifengzi nodded. He looked around vigilantly. He was afraid of the rank 7 Strength Path expert. He might be lurking around. "Hello brothers, you came really quickly. My name is Xianxia, I am guarding this cloud building. May I know who both of you are?" Fang Yuan flew out of the cloud building. "Be careful, this is a Star Path rank 6 Gu immortal." Huifengzi transmitted to Xianxia. Xianxia nodded silently. He understood Huifengzi's words. The other party might have 2 Gu immortals with one hiding somewhere. Xianxia might have been schemed into death by them. Chapter 876, Star Cloud Grindstone, Star Snake Rope. Huifengzi and Xianxia stared at Fang Yuan vigilantly. Currently, Fang Yuan was wearing a blue robe. Traces of starlight was flowing out of his large sleeves at times. He was no longer burly and brawny, he was thin and tall. His skin was not green like his zombie appearance, it was tender and white like a baby, radiating with a faintly red hue. His features also became very refined. Together with his long and smooth white hair, he looked like an unfettered expert with an immortal's flair. After obtaining change form Immortal Gu, vaguely familiar faces effect rose greatly. It allowed Fang Yuan to hugely change his appearance. Xianxia. Never heard of him. Xianxia frowned. Ruthless light flickered in his eyes. From the moment he got here, he felt something strange. "You are a Northern Plains Gu immortal." Huifengzi's expression changed. He looked very calm but was secretly on alert that there might be a rank 7 Strength Path Gu immortal hiding nearby. Fang Yuan waved his sleeves, laughing heartily. "I am a Northern Plains Gu immortal, I am an insignificant lone cultivator. Both of you are famous characters in Northern Plains, we cannot be compared." He knew about Xianxia, although he did not recognize Huifengzi, but viewing this situation, Xianxia and Huifengzi were moving side by side. According to Xianxia's wild nature, he could deduce that Huifengzi had strength that was not inferior to Xianxia. "Since you know about our fame, why are you not retreating? If we really fight, it would be unwise for you to die in my hands." Huifengzi sneered. His gaze was like a dagger piercing towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan smiled bitterly and helplessly. "A promise is a promise, even though I am not good at fighting, I will have to challenge both of you. Please." He spoke nonsense with his mouth, but he was quite overjoyed internally. Vaguely familiar faces effect was quite good. Both of them were rank 7, the moment Fang Yuan appeared, they must have used their investigative killer moves. But now it seemed that neither of them had any suspicion towards Fang Yuan's identity. If they found out about Fang Yuan's immortal zombie status, Xianxia would have attacked already. Star Path rank 6 was already lower than his cultivation level, an immortal zombie would be even lower. Of course, there was a possibility that they had found out, but were just trying to probe the situation. Hui Fengzi and Xianxia looked at Xianxia in front of them. Even though he was rank 6 and had lower cultivation level, he was inviting them to battle. Unconsciously, they thought about the hidden strength path Gu immortal. The two demonic path immortals looked at each other. Hui Fengzi said to Xianxia, "Why don't you attack? I will assist you by the side." Xianxia was also very wary of the rank 7 strength path Gu immortal that killed Shuizongzi. Since Hui Fengzi is keeping watch, if the mysterious rank 7 strength path Gu immortal attacks during battle, there is not much to worry about. I have a really strong feeling that something is amiss, but I don't know what. Xianxia frowned slightly, nodding at Hui Fengzi. At the next moment, he growled as he pounced at Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan saw that the famous demon of northern plains, Xianxia, was charging at him. He smiled lightly. "Let's start." Fang Yuan pushed forward with both hands, using an immortal killer move. At that instant, starlight shone as a spiral of starlight clouds gathered and formed. In a few breaths of time, it was the size of 2 or 3 elephants. This spiral of star clouds spun rapidly, emitting an suction force towards the outside. Star Path Immortal Killer Move, Star Cloud Grindstone. This was Star Lord Wan Xiang's defensive killer move. All long-range attacks could be sucked in and grinded into pieces by the Star Cloud Grindstone. In regards to a close-range fighter like Xianxia, once he enters the Star Cloud Grindstone, he would be restricted in movement and would be crushed slowly by the grindstone. In other words, this was a defensive killer move with very strong offensive power. Howl! Xianxia's body shined with a bright light. The light was dazzling and even Fang Yuan had to shut his eyes momentarily. At the next moment, the light faded and a wolf appeared. This wolf was not large, it was even smaller than usual wolves. But it emitted a dangerous aura. Fang Yuan's eyelids jumped. It had no fur on its body, it was like an oiled brown wooden statue, emitting an eerie aura. On the wolf's head, there was a naturally growing mushroom-like bone. It resembled a black triangular hat. Below the hat, in the wolf's eyes, there were no shiny pupils. Instead, 2 lumps of green flames were burning quietly. A rank 7 desolate beast that ate soul beasts as food. Fragrant Sorcerer in Statue Wolf. After Xianxia transformed into the Fragrant Sorcerer in Statue Wolf, his speed was 3 times that of before. He was like a lump of shadow, flickering before Fang Yuan's eyes. Such great speed! My investigative killer move could not capture it. Fang Yuan's heart jumped. No matter what fight Gu immortals were in, speed was always a crucial factor. Whoever was faster would have the initiative. Advancing or retreating could be easily achieved. The slower one would not be able to hit the other party if they attacked. If they wanted to retreat, they would be obstructed. Xianxia was indeed a famous transformation path demonic immortal of northern plains. In his human form, his battle strength could be considered to possibly only be at the level of rank 6 peak stage. But the moment he transformed into a fierce beast, his battle strength surged. It proved that he had undeniable strength living up to his reputation. At this moment, Fang Yuan was at a disadvantage. He lost the initiative, but he was not flustered. Even though he had an incomplete strength path immortal killer move, 3 pairs of true solid bat wings, he could activate them, but he showed no signs of using them at all. True solid bat wings was a top-tier mortal killer move. Once the chance of activating Iron Crown Eagle strength immortal Gu along with it occurred, he would be able to unleash speed equal to an immortal killer move. Thus, it was an incomplete immortal killer move. But this effect of this movement killer move was too unstable. Moreover, even if he could activate the Iron Crown Eagle strength immortal Gu, Fang Yuan's speed would still be slower than the Fragrant Sorcerer in Statue Wolf. This ancient desolate beast wolf could fight on par with rank 7 Gu immortals. It was well known for speed and agility. Furthermore, if Fang Yuan used true solid bat wings now, he would be exposing his identity as a strength path Gu immortal. This was not a good idea. Fang Yuan purposely transformed into the appearance of a star path Gu immortal now. He was using the two strong foes to test his star path techniques, to assess his gains in Hu immortal blessed land these last days while trying to absorb this new battle style. The fragrant sorcererine statue wolf howled intensely. Its speed was so fast that Fang Yuan could not sense it. It was faster than lightning. In the blink of an eye, it was right in front of Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan's expression did not change. He made a move that was out of Xianxia's expectations. He jumped and went into the star cloud grindstone that was activated earlier. Xianxia had wanted to avoid the star cloud grindstone and directly attack Fang Yuan. Thus, both mentally and physically, he was seeking to avoid this star cloud grindstone. Fang Yuan jumping inside was really out of Xianxia's expectations. Shoo! With a soft sound, the fragrant sorcererine statue wolf's claws scratched Fang Yuan's back. The fragrant sorcererine statue wolf was simply too fast. Even though Fang Yuan wanted to dodge it and escape into the star cloud grindstone, he was still scratched on his back by Xianxia. But this scratch was only a graze. It did not cause much damage to Fang Yuan. The immortal zombie body in itself had great defense. Fang Yuan's blue robe was torn, but the injury on his back was only on the surface. His spine and bones were untouched. When blood spewed, the flesh moved as the injury mended quickly. In a few breaths of time, his injury was gone. But the blood was still in the air. It gradually changed color and revealed its true form, several drops of immortal zombie blood. Oh! This is a flaw in vaguely familiar face. Fang Yuan saw the drops of immortal zombie blood. He took note of this mentally. At the next moment, he waved his sleeves as he drew the immortal zombie blood inside them. He stood in the middle of the star cloud grindstone as he looked at the fragrant sorcererine statue wolf which was outside. He smiled and invited, "Sir, Xianxia has incredible agility. Would you like to fight me inside here?" Why was star cloud grindstone a defensive killer move and not an offensive killer move? This was the reason. Fang Yuan was fighting inside now. Star cloud grindstone would crush the enemy at all times, while Fang Yuan would be unharmed and unobstructed. Fragrant sorcererine statue wolf stared at the star cloud grindstone intently. In its huge empty eyes, a pair of eerie flames were burning. It made Fang Yuan feel a surge of battle intent from Xianxia. Xianxia was ready to pounce, as Fang Yuan focused his attention. But at the next moment, the fragrant sorcererine statue wolf turned around and gave up on the enemy. It pounced at the cloud building. "Why should I fight with you? My target is to dismantle as many cloud buildings as possible. To destroy this damned 12-wave cloud confusion Gu formation." At this moment, Xianxia was laughing to himself internally. Xianxia's move was directly targeting Fang Yuan's weakness. He had to make a tough decision now. The reason why Fang Yuan was here was to defend the cloud building, and try to stall for time. But now, Xianxia was attacking the cloud building and ignoring Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan was forced to make a different move. If Fang Yuan stood on the spot and did not move, allowing Xianxia to destroy the cloud building, they would reach their goal and triumph. If Fang Yuan chased after him, he might get into physical danger. But the problem was, he could not match Xianxia's speed after he transformed into the fragrant sorcererine statue wolf. Passive, Fang Yuan was in a very passive spot now. Gu immortals were still Gu immortals after all. In battle, they were much tougher to deal with than desolate beasts or ancient desolate beasts. Xianxia attacked twice. The first time he got around the star cloud grindstone and attacked Fang Yuan. This time, he ignored Fang Yuan and went for the cloud building. He was truly displaying the spirit of Besiege Wei to rescue Zhao Wan. Besiege Wei to rescue Zhao. This was something Fang Yuan had read about in his previous life on Earth, but this Gu Master world was also quite extraordinary. There was a similar type of wisdom here. Battles between Gu immortals were full of such wisdom. Not only was their frontal assault based on their strength, there was also the element of planning and scheming against one another. Seeing that the fragrant sorcerine statue wolf was charging for the cloud building, Fang Yuan, who was inside the star cloud grindstone, was not anxious. Instead he smiled lightly. Immortal killer move, star snake rope. At the edge of the star cloud grindstone, 6 ropes flew out. The ropes were thin, they were formed from condensed starlight, the ends of the ropes were shining in blue starlight, forming into the appearances of snake heads. 6 ropes that were like 6 agile snakes flew forth, they sinuously moved along and coiled around the fragrant sorcerine statue wolf's body. Sir Xianxia, where are you going? Please come in here and fight. Fang Yuan laughed as he moved the star cloud grindstone. Together with the ropes, he dragged the fragrant sorcerine statue wolf into the star cloud grindstone. Oh. These 2 immortal killer moves can coordinate with each other. This is a good battle tactic. At once, even Huifengzi praised as a sharp light flashed in his eyes. Chapter 877, 6 Illusion Star Bodies, Position Star Swap. When Star Snake Rope was coordinated with Star Cloud Grindstone, their power would amplify. Even though the fragrant sorcerine statue wolf was an ancient desolate beast, it did not have great strength, and because Xianxia was not perfectly transformed into it, he was pulled by the star snake ropes helplessly. His struggles were futile as he was dragged back by Fang Yuan. Xianxia was trapped inside the star cloud grindstone. Countless starlight specks assaulted him, grinding against his wolf body. His muscles were tense as he felt increasing pressure. At the same time, the 6 star snake ropes were coiling around the fragrant sorcerine statue wolf's body. They tightened and quickly created evident marks on the fragrant sorcerine statue wolf's body. Xianxia could not open his mouth, he only felt an increasing force on him, his bones were starting to creak. Xianxia was not flustered, thoughts flashed in his head rapidly. This transformation only obtains the fragrant sorcerine statue wolf's speed. I lack defense and strength. This person has a deep foundation in his soul. Earlier I used the fragrant sorcerine statue wolf to scratch him, but it was as if nothing happened. Clearly the fragrant sorcerine statue wolf's soul-injuring attacks have little effect on him. In an instant, Xianxia had thought it through. Even though the wolf's mouth was tied up, this did not impede Xianxia from using gu worms. He growled angrily, since you are courting death, I will grant it to you. As he said that, lightning burst out. Large amounts of lightning shot out in all directions. Rumble. Balls of lightning exploded fiercely. Fang Yuan's 6 star snake ropes were drowned in the lightning blast. They first broke apart one by one before becoming decimated. Xianxia regained freedom, his body was bathed in lightning as he growled loudly. Howl. Several breaths of time later, the lightning vanished, and the wolf howl stopped. What appeared was no longer a fragrant sorcerine statue wolf, it was a lightning-flashed giant wolf. This was also an ancient desolate beast, having rank 7 battle strength. The giant wolf was as large as an elephant, it was covered in blue fur, the tips of the furs were all covered in mysterious blue crystals, they gave off a weak spark. The fragrant sorcerine statue wolf was physically weaker, while lightning-flashed giant wolf was strong and mighty. He actually turned his Dao marks into lightning path so quickly. Earlier, the flash of lightning must have been some sort of immortal killer move, it actually has such an amazing effect. Fang Yuan's pupils shrunk, he mentally took note of this precious information. If he fought Xianxia in the future, Fang Yuan would attempt to thwart the immortal killer move earlier and prevent Xianxia from transforming successfully. He missed his chance this time. Xianxia would not give Fang Yuan this opportunity. Furthermore, Fang Yuan knew that this battle was going to be a loss, he only needed to stall for as long as he could. He was facing 2 rank 7 Gu immortals, they were both famous experts. They were also from northern plains, having superior battle strength as compared to the other 4 regions. Meanwhile, Fang Yuan only had rank 6 star path cultivation now. This time, he was trying to test out vaguely familiar face, as well as the star path killer moves in battle. A moment later. Boom! With a loud bang, a lightning pillar burst into the sky. The star cloud grindstone was on the verge of destruction and could not be maintained anymore. Fang Yuan's blue robe had many tatters and tears, his body was covered in countless injuries. Thankfully, this lightning caused the injuries to be charred, no blood spewed out, so Fang Yuan could continue concealing his identity. The lightning flash giant wolf howled smugly, speaking human words, "Not a battlefield killer move, yet trying to trap me? Humph, you are too naive, now die." Saying this, he opened his mouth and shot out a beam of lightning. The lightning pillar approached Fang Yuan with incredible might. Fang Yuan's face was reflecting the blue light as his eyes shined with slight brilliance. He still maintained his composure. "Hehe, if you want me dead, that will not be easy." Saying this, Fang Yuan's body shook, as he turned into 6 figures and flew out, causing the lightning beam to hit nothing. Star Path Immortal Killer Move, 6 Illusion Star Bodies. He split into 6, which one is the real body? Hui Fengzi was observing the battle. As he was wary of the Strength Path Gu Immortal that was lurking, he did not join the fight. The 6 bodies drew a trail of blue starlight behind them in the air as they encircled the lightning flash giant wolf, attacking together. At once, starlight flew out as countless mortal killer moves were used on the lightning flash giant wolf. He Langzi activated his defenses, enduring the attacks from Fang Yuan as he counterattacked fiercely. But after he spent a lot of effort to kill one of Fang Yuan's illusion bodies, another one would be created in its place. He Langzi attacked left and right, killing a total of 8 illusion bodies of Fang Yuan. This could be said to be easily defeating them, but the illusion bodies regenerated after dying. They were endless. There were still 6 Fang Yuans encircling the lightning flash giant wolf as they attacked relentlessly. He Langzi felt a huge headache. Here, he could only use immortal killer moves to defend himself. He was expending rank 7 immortal essence. But his opponent was only using mortal killer moves. He was expending primeval essence. In this exchange of moves, he was making a huge loss. But he had to defend himself. His body could not endure such constant attacks. He displayed his attacking methods, but Fang Yuan's 6 illusion star bodies were unending. At once, Fang Yuan obtained the initiative for the first time. He gained some control of the situation. At this time, He Langzi's investigative methods were put to test. "Damn it, this lightning flash giant wolf has great attacking power, but it is not suited for investigation. It has low speed as well. Even if I want to attack the cloud building, I would be obstructed by the enemy. Do I need to transform back into the fragrant sorcerine statue wolf?" He Langzi gritted his teeth secretly. Transformation Path Gu cultivators could only transform a certain number of times in a period of time. This was because their Dao marks changed after transforming successfully. When they change into other life forms, the Dao marks of the previous transformation would remain. The transformation path Gu Immortal would need to use appropriate Gu worms to cleanse their own body and get rid of those remaining Dao marks completely, otherwise, there would be huge harm to themselves. He Langzi was able to transform into the lightning flash giant wolf from the fragrant sorcerine statue wolf earlier so quickly because he had used a lightning path immortal killer move. This move not only attacked the star snake ropes that restricted him, it also destroyed the soul path Dao marks on He Langzi's body. Thus, He Langzi was able to transform into the lightning flash giant wolf rapidly. But if He Langzi wanted to transform into the fragrant sorcerine statue wolf from his current lightning flash giant wolf form, he would need a soul path immortal killer move that he did not have. Immortal killer moves were extremely precious. They were very difficult to deduce. He Langzi was a person with fortuitous encounters, otherwise with just his lone cultivator status, he would not have his current achievements. Unfortunately, the inheritances that he obtained were all incomplete. They were lacking to a huge degree. He was not like Xue Songzi who had just died, having obtained a complete snow path inheritance from Qin Baisheng, and having a set of immortal killer moves to use in succession. He was not like Fang Yuan either, having obtained a complete star path inheritance from Star Lord Wanxiang, Star Cloud Grindstone, Star Snake Rope, 6 illusion star bodies were all created by using Star Mark, Star Shoot, and Starlight, these 3 immortal Gu as the cores. They also smoothly complemented each other. He Lu Lan tried all ways possible to turn the mortal killer move, Self-Strength Giant Phantom, into an immortal killer move. She had a good foundation already, but she still faced great difficulty. Even though Fang Yuan had Grandmaster attainment in Strength Path, and the help of the Light of Wisdom, he did not dare to deduce other Strength Path immortal killer moves casually. It was not that he was incapable of doing so, but because the time and effort needed was too much. He Lang Zi did not have any Wisdom Path foundation to deduce a suitable immortal killer move for himself. That was immensely more difficult. Of course, with He Lang Zi's strength, if he wanted to endure Fang Yuan's attacks while getting rid of his lightning path Dao marks, it was not impossible. He had a higher cultivation level, Fang Yuan's strength was inferior to his. But that way, he would drag it out for too long. While He Lang Zi was hesitant, Hui Feng Zi struck. Fang Yuan's attacks came to a halt. He was surprised to find out that on his head, there was a green feather. When was I hit? What immortal killer move is this? It can actually expose my true body. Fang Yuan was shocked. Hui Feng Zi had been using his investigative immortal killer move the moment Fang Yuan used 6 illusion star bodies. After exposing Fang Yuan's true body, he immediately used another immortal killer move to mark him. Even though Hui Feng Zi was not engaged in the battle, wary of a lurking Strength Path Gu immortal, it did not mean that he could not do anything. Fang Yuan was fighting 2 strong enemies alone, and they were both rank 7 Gu immortals. His disadvantage was great. Once Fang Yuan's true body was exposed, he was attacked by the lightning flash giant wolf with precision. Left without a choice, Fang Yuan activated Star Cloud Grindstone and placed it in front of him. But the lightning flash giant wolf was an ancient desolate beast. It shot out fierce lightning and several Star Cloud Grindstones were destroyed one after another. Fang Yuan quickly moved his other 5 star bodies to disrupt He Lang Zi. If He Lang Zi was an ancient desolate beast, he might have gotten distracted. But he had the intelligence and wisdom of a human. He ignored these star bodies and only attacked Fang Yuan's main body. Fang Yuan was getting into a passive position. In front of him, the Star Cloud Grindstone was being destroyed by the lightning pillar, and behind the lightning pillar, the lightning flash giant wolf was charging at him. Immortal killer move, position star swap. Fang Yuan's body shined with starlight. He vanished on the spot and appeared somewhere else. He directly replaced one of the 6 illusion star bodies. This was a movement killer move that was recorded in Star Lord Wanxiang's inheritance. It could allow Fang Yuan to vanish and take the place of one of the star bodies at any point in time. After replacing it, the original illusion body would disappear, and on the battlefield, other than Fang Yuan's main body, only 4 illusion bodies would be left. But soon, Fang Yuan willed and another illusion star body appeared, standing beside him. The number of illusion star bodies on the field reached the maximum capacity again. At once, the lightning flash giant wolf that He Lang Zi transformed into opened its mouth wide, unable to close it. His gaze also froze for a breath's time. Position star swap and 6 illusion star bodies were 2 immortal killer moves that worked together really well. This was a shameless tactic that caused the 2 experts, Hui Feng Zi and He Lang Zi, to become speechless. Unless they had a method to counter it, or if they could resolve one of the 2 star path killer moves, Fang Yuan was a very troublesome character to deal with now. Unfortunately, neither Hui Feng Zi or He Lang Zi had any way to counter this. To unravel an unknown immortal killer move, they would need a strong wisdom path foundation. It could not be done quickly. However, just as Fang Yuan and He Lang Zi went into a deadlock, Hui Feng Zi made up his mind and struck. Immortal killer move, wind escape. He turned into a gust of wind, vanishing on the spot. At the next moment, he appeared outside the cloud building, opening his mouth wide. Immortal killer move, death wind flying blade. A wind blade flew out of Hui Feng Zi's mouth, slashing at the cloud building's top floor. The cloud building only lasted for a breath's time before it was cut into 2 by this sharp wind blade. Wind escape. A top-tier movement killer move in Northern Plains. He is Hui Fengzi. At that instant, Fang Yuan realized Hui Fengzi's identity. He shouted for Langya Land Spirit. Langya Land Spirit appeared immediately, grabbing Fang Yuan's arm as they vanished on the spot with a swoosh. Chapter 878, Moment of Crisis. When Fang Yuan was able to see again, he was already in another cloud building. Fang Yuan let out a breath of turbid air. It might have been difficult to withdraw without Langya Land Spirit's help. After all, one of the enemies was Hui Fengzi. This person was known as among the best in movement speed currently in Northern Plains. He could even outrun rank 8 Gu immortals. He had a shocking achievement of having escaped from Yao Huang. But difficult did not mean impossible. Fang Yuan had fixed immortal travel and only needed 3 breaths of time to escape. Even if Hui Fengzi was very fast, it would be of no help should he have enough time. There were only 5 cloud buildings remaining in the first place. Now we have lost 2 in a row, and we only delayed the enemies for a short time. The enemies are already attacking. This time, the 3 of us will move together. Langya Land Spirit instructed with a serious expression. When Langya Land Spirit spoke, Fang Yuan discovered that besides him and the Land Spirit, there was an Inkman Gu immortal in the cloud building. Fang Yuan assessed this Inkman Gu immortal. The Inkman Gu immortal possessed distinct Inkman characteristics, black skin and white hair. He also seemed to be rather old, judging by the wrinkles all over his face. Wasn't it said Inkman City only had 1 Gu immortal, the Inkman King Mo Tan sang? It seems this Inkman Gu immortal is one of the trump cards of Inkman City, kept hidden ordinarily. My intelligence from Fairy Lishan had no mention of him. He only made his appearance due to the crisis in Langya Blessed Land. Fang Yuan speculated inwardly. Inkmen are variant humans. There are very few Gu immortals among variant human tribes. Inkman City being able to conceal a Gu immortal should already be their limit. But then again, for Inkman City to send out their 2 Gu immortals for Langya Blessed Land, it could be said to be taking a big risk. This means Mo Tan Sang has a lot of trust in Langya Land Spirit. Fang Yuan was able to understand the wider situation with a small clue. He had only just seen this Inkman Gu immortal, but was able to connect this to many things. This Inkman Gu immortal nodded at Fang Yuan but did not say anything, as if he did not want to have much interaction with Fang Yuan. This was expected. Even if Fang Yuan had changed his appearance greatly, he was still a human Gu immortal. Currently in the 5 regions, or even the entire world, variant humans were suppressed, captured and trained as slaves to be sold. Almost all variant humans were barely staying alive. This Inkman City in Northern Plains was already an extremely rare and valuable settlement of variant humans. This was also because the leaders of Inkman City, from generation to generation, were all Gu immortals. How could Inkman City exist without the protection of Gu immortals? Forces both large and small would have already allied to capture the Inkmen as slaves. It could be said that without a Gu immortal, the lives of variant humans was similar to that of small and tiny tribes, scattered in nooks and crannies over the world. It was not that variant humans did not want to group together to form middle-scale and large-scale tribes, but that if their numbers were large, it would be summoning disaster, attracting countless forces to hunt them down and make them slaves. This aged Inkman Gu immortal seemed to be very much on alert in regards to humans. He only nodded at Fang Yuan and remained at his spot without any intention to communicate. Fang Yuan also nodded in reply. Langya Land Spirit, who was at the side, was frowning as he anxiously looked outside the window. He suddenly spoke. They arrived so quickly. They are directly charging towards this cloud building. The situation does not look good. They seem to hold some investigative method that targets my 12-wave cloud confusion formation. Fang Yuan quickly looked outside, but only saw the vast fog. He knew his investigative killer moves were not much good, but Langya Land Spirit's words should be true. Sure enough, several breaths of time later, wind surged, dispelling the thick fog and revealing a clear space. 2 enemy Gu immortals were proudly standing in the air. One was wearing a black robe and was very good looking, but because of some injuries, his expression appeared pale, making one feel that although this person was unfettered and elegant, he did not seem to have much longer to live. He was He Cheng. The other Gu immortal was wearing martial attire. He had broad shoulders and a thin waist, and his eyes were emitting sharp light. Fang Yuan was familiar with this person, rank 7 Gu immortal, Qin Bai Sheng. Fang Yuan immediately put most of his attention on Qin Bai Sheng. In Fang Yuan's knowledge, this Qin Bai Sheng was extremely strong, an expert at the level of Central Continent's Shirley. If they were to openly fight, Fang Yuan knew he was not Qin Bai Sheng's match. One needed to know their limitations. One of the reasons Fang Yuan could live so long was because he knew himself well enough. Even though he had the strength path killer move Miri itself, and did not lack immortal essence stones for the moment, and also possessed a set of star path immortal killer moves which made up for a lot of his shortcomings, but if they were to truly battle, he could at best only force a draw with difficulty against experts at the level of Old Lord Ken Yang, Helang Zi, Huifeng Zi and Unfettered Scholar. He was able to kill Shui Song Zi before, because his luck was good and his plan had succeeded. He used Star Path battle strength to deal with Helang Zi and was able to turn the situation into a stalemate, but Helang Zi's third immortal transformation was not forced out. In other words, Helang Zi still had strength left. Clearly, the land spirit also knew Qin Bai Sheng's strength, thus was frowning deeply, mumbling, "Damn it, I am so close. If only I had some time, all these tigers would turn into sick cats." He seemed to have some powerful method, but it required time to be put to use. Unfortunately, the enemies did not intend to give any time to Langya land spirit. The enemies were already closing in on the cloud building. Langya land spirit had no choice but to brace himself to resist. The next moment, the land spirit turned towards the Inkman Gu immortal in the corner. "Old Mo, you can go first to fight them, try to stall for as much time as possible." "Yes, Lord Langya." The Inkman Gu immortal slightly bowed before flying out of the cloud building. "Fang Yuan, be prepared to move out." Langya land spirit instructed Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan nodded, while thinking inwardly, "With just my star path methods, I can only deal with 1 or 2 enemies at the level of Huifeng Zi and Helang Zi. It is impossible to think of victory, but I can still delay for time. However, in facing Qin Bai Sheng, I must use all my strength. It is absolutely out of question to try to make do with just star path cultivation." Just as he was thinking, an extremely intense suppression force spread from ahead. "What is this?" The terrifying pressure caused Fang Yuan and Langya land spirit to turn pale. They quickly looked over. Brilliant golden light filled their sight. After the golden light dispersed, they saw Qin Bai Sheng standing proudly in the air, while He Cheng was looking at him from behind as if he was a monster. And in Qin Bai Sheng's hands was a head. It was the head of that Inkman Gu immortal. As for this Gu immortal's body, it had fallen to the ground. Qin Bai Sheng had actually killed a rank 6 Gu immortal in this breath of time. What was this speed? What level of power was this? This power, which could directly kill an extremely vigilant Gu immortal, even if it was a variant human, was too terrifying. Even the experienced and knowledgeable He Cheng was dumbstruck. Even though he had personally seen Qin Bai Sheng overpowering Helang Zi in one move. But overpowering and killing a Gu immortal were two different concepts. The Inkman Gu immortal had just flown over and was just about to say something. Qin Bai Sheng had immediately attacked. He did not even give a chance for the enemy to speak. What was that move? The Gu immortals present on the scene, as well as the land spirit, did not have any clues. Terrifying. This Qin Bai Sheng's battle strength has already surpassed Shirley, and is fully at the level of Feng Jiu Gu. Let's retreat. Fang Yuan bellowed at Langya land spirit. Langya land spirit also came to his senses, and just as Fang Yuan shouted, he grabbed Fang Yuan's arm and swiftly disappeared from the spot. What's going on? In another cloud building, Mo Tan Sang was standing guard, and was surprised to see Fang Yuan and Langya land spirit appear so suddenly. Fang Yuan's expression was extremely unsightly. He did not know the secrets of Qin Bai Sheng's background, but that decapitation just now left an extremely deep impression on him. Lang Yalan's spirit was filled with panic as he looked all around. What should we do? His body suddenly shook and he looked towards the northwest direction, his gaze seemingly passing through the cloud building. He was terrified. They are coming directly towards us. What can we do? Mo Tan Sang took a step forward. He glanced at the stranger, Fang Yuan, clearly not recognizing Fang Yuan's appearance. Mo Tan Sang also did not inquire about Fang Yuan's identity, and instead asked Lang Yalan's spirit a question in concern. Lang Yalan's spirit did not reply to him. He was extremely anxious. This was the first time Mo Tan Sang had seen this. It was instead Fang Yuan who answered Mo Tan Sang, his voice heavy and filled with apprehension. That Inkman Gu immortal is dead. He could not last even one move. He was decapitated by Qin Bai Sheng. This battle strength is already comparable to rank 8, only with a large gap in strength can there be this kind of crushing battle result. What? Elder Mo is dead. Killed in one move by Qin Bai Sheng. Mo Tan Sang's whole body shook, revealing a disbelieving and shocked expression. Soon, the shock on his face disappeared and his gaze became blank. The death of the old Inkman Gu immortal was a heavy strike to Mo Tan Sang. Inkman City had 2 Gu immortals altogether, now only Mo Tan Sang was left. The disastrous loss was evident. How could Qin Bai Sheng be so strong? Mo Tan Sang's face was filled with cold sweat as he reacted short after. He was a person of great talent and vision after all, and immediately understood they could only rely on Lang Yalan's spirit's unfathomable depths. He took another step forward and asked Lang Yalan's spirit, Lord Lang Yalan's spirit, what should we do? We cannot stall for time. Can't you use your rank 8 immortal Gu house refinement cauldron early to forcibly refine the immortal Gu of these Gu immortals? Rank 8 immortal Gu house. Refinement cauldron. This is Lang Yalan's spirit's hidden trump card. It seems this immortal Gu house can actually forcibly refine the immortal Gu of others. Fang Yuan's heart shook as he heard this secret. Everything became clear. It was no wonder that Lang Yalan's spirit could resist the invasion of so many Gu immortals. No wonder Feng Jiuge perished here. With this rank 8 immortal Gu house, refinement cauldron, as long as a period of time was given, the immortal Gu of Gu immortals would be refined by the land spirit. Moreover, the Gu immortals could only use immortal Gu and immortal killer moves here. If their immortal Gu were refined by others, then the Gu immortals could only let others trample upon them. No wonder Lang Yalan's spirit could capture so many Gu immortals alive. This rank 8 immortal Gu house could refine the immortal Gu of other Gu immortals, isolating them from immortal apertures. This power was inconceivably strong. However, when Fang Yuan thought of it, it was also not strange. Long Hair Ancestor was the creator of 88 True Yang building. It was justifiable for him to be able to create another rank 8 immortal Gu house in refinement cauldron. If I could forcibly refine the Gu, I would have already done so. What to do? What to do? There is not enough time. Lang Yalan's spirit raved as he paced around the room in panic. Mo Tan Sang had helped resist 2 waves of attacks, but he had never seen Lang Yalan's spirit in such panic. His heart could not help but sink. Don't tell me, not only did I mess up Northern Plains, I even affected Langya blessed land and am causing it to be destroyed earlier? Fang Yuan's mood was also heavy. Chapter 879, Long Hair Ancestor's Secret. Heavenly Court. Countless halls radiated with dazzling lights. Inside Heaven Overseeing Tower, there were 4 rank 8 Gu immortals, Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord, by Zhang Shui, Lian Jiusheng, and by Chen Tian. They were at the east, south, west, and north directions respectively. The huge Gu formation was showing a grand image in the sky. Countless precious immortal materials were tossed in like they were cheap vegetables found in the market. In the image formed by the refinement path Gu formation, these immortal materials were processed at a rapid speed. At this point, they had already expended half of the success Dao marks that they had obtained from the infallible inheritance. The female Gu immortal, Bai Tsang Shui's eyes shined brightly as she stared at the refinement path Gu formation. This was the first time she was involved in the recovery of Fate Gu. This was also the first time she had come across such an incredible refinement path Gu formation. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord held his walking stick as he captured all of Bai Tsang Shui's expressions with his eyes. He spoke, "Fairy Tsang Shui, if you want this refinement path Gu formation, you only need to pay 30,000 contribution points to get it." Bai Tsang Shui's expression changed. She understood Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord's meaning. He was reminding her, now is the crucial period for repairing Fate Immortal Gu. Stop staring at the refinement path Gu formation and causing yourself to be distracted. I am ashamed. Bai Tsang Shui bowed at Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord, sighing, this Gu formation is really incredible, it has such power. Even if I am not a refinement path Gu immortal, I can tell that this Gu formation has already touched upon the fundamental meaning of refinement path. But it is like a poem that is only half written. This Gu formation also gives me a sense of being incomplete. It seems that it could be improved further, to become an immortal Gu house. He, Fairy Tsang Shui is very insightful. But it is impossible to elevate this Gu formation into an immortal Gu house. Lian Jiusheng, who had the appearance of a white-haired teenager, laughed as he replied. Oh. Why is that the case? Bai Tsang Shui's gaze flickered, she showed curiosity on her face. The main reason is that we are lacking the most crucial core immortal Gu. Fairy Tsang Shui, you may not know that this refinement path Gu formation is only a mimicry of long-hair ancestors' rank 8 immortal Gu house, refinement cauldron, by a predecessor of heavenly court through countless past records. Lian Jiusheng spoke slowly, exposing some secrets, and this refinement cauldron is still inside Langya blessed land. It has all of its core immortal Gu. So that's it. Bai Tsang Shui's expression dimmed. Immortal Gu were unique, refinement cauldron was still around now. Thus, it was almost impossible to elevate heavenly court's Gu formation. Of course, we can make a redesign of refinement cauldron and modify this Gu formation, using other immortal Gu as the core, to achieve a similar effect. But this is very difficult. Back then when long-hair ancestor created the immortal Gu houses, 88 Truyang building and refinement cauldron, other than the fact that he was a refinement path supreme grandmaster, there was another reason. He had a wisdom path great grandmaster friend, Immortal Yi Yen. Lian Jiusheng sighed deeply. Immortal Yi Yen, he was the creator of the prophecy of 3 venerables. He was an actual wisdom path great grandmaster, his predictions were very accurate. Immortal Yi Yen, long-hair ancestor. Bai Tsang Shui muttered, she suddenly thought of something, she asked, that's right. Back then, why didn't we recruit long-hair ancestor into heavenly court? He is a refinement path supreme grandmaster, but he only had rank 8 cultivation level, he was not an invincible rank 9 Gu immortal. Even if he was a Northern Plains Gu immortal, we in heavenly court have our methods, we can change his aura from Northern Plains to Central Continent. Indeed, there were only 3 people who were at long-hair ancestors level. Why did heavenly court not recruit them? Lian Jiusheng was also uncertain. Bai Chen Tian was silent. Heaven Overseeing Tower Lord laughed, he said with an arrogant tone, that is because long-hair ancestor was not a human, he was a hairy man. No matter how strong he was, or how great his refinement path attainment was, he could not enter heavenly court. Heavenly court is the sanctuary of us humans, how can we let these lowly variant humans in? Oh. It is actually like this. Long-hair ancestor was a hairy man. The other 3 Gu immortals looked at each other, this was the first time they had heard of such a secret. Northern Plains, Langya blessed land. Out of the original 5 cloud buildings, 3 were destroyed, only 2 were left. On Qin Bai Xing side, Xuesong Zi died. On Langya land spirit side, an Inkman Gu immortal died as well. Qin Bai Xing showed terrifying battle strength, he was unstoppable, he directly charged towards the cloud building that Langya land spirit, Fang Yuan, and Mo Tan Sang were guarding. Langya land spirit was pacing around in anxiety now. What will we do? What will we do? The enemy is too strong, we cannot hold on much longer. Even though we have 2 cloud buildings left, it is already a fact that we are going to lose. Damn it, this is so frustrating. Do I have to let him out? No, if I let him out, I will be locked in. Who knows when I will be able to come out again. I arranged this Xianxia blessed land painstakingly, who knows if that maniac would raise it into a grotto heaven. That maniac's ambition is too great, he will definitely cause Xianxia blessed land to be destroyed. Xianxia land's spirit was in a panicked state, his muttering was turning into a nonsensical grumble, it was making Fang Yuan and Mo Tansang feel a sense of anxiety and frustration. Fang Yuan was still fine, he had fixed immortal travel. But Mo Tansang was really uneasy now. The other Inkman Gu immortal was already dead, if he also died here, all of the hundreds of thousands of Inkmen in Inkman City would face great danger. Without a Gu immortal's protection, with so many Inkmen in Inkman City, they would definitely be a huge target, countless hungry and greedy jackals would come and compete to enslave them. The Inkmen citizens would face a terrible fate, they would become slaves and live in danger and suffering. Lord Land Spirit, you have to stay calm. We are all depending on you. Long Hair Ancestor was an esteemed person who could talk on equal terms with a demon venerable, think about it carefully, there has to be a way to deal with the enemy. Mo Tansang got closer to Xianxia Land Spirit as he urged. Don't force me, don't force me. Xianxia Land Spirit was gripping his hair, he shook his head incessantly. Mo Tansang's anxiety became worse, he grabbed the Land Spirit's arm as he shook the Land Spirit. Xianxia Land Spirit, you have to regain your clear-mindedness. Ah! Xianxia Land Spirit seemed to have reached his limits, he raised his head and screamed. Boom! A huge force burst out from Xianxia Land Spirit's body. Mo Tansang was caught off guard, he spat out blood as he was pushed away like a tattered doll. He crashed onto the wall and slowly fell onto the ground. You are not Xianxia Land Spirit. Mo Tansang stared with wide-opened eyes, shouting at Xianxia Land Spirit in disbelief. The Land Spirit originally had white hair and had a sagely demeanor, but now he was different. He was muscular and strong, about the same height as Fang Yuan's immortal zombie body. He had large shoulders and a thick waist, the muscles on his body were bursting with energy, giving off terrifying signals. Most conspicuously, his entire body was growing with thick hair, the brown hair was almost covering his entire body. His eyes were bloodshot, fangs were exposed in his mouth as his lips curled up, showing a sinister smile. In an instant, Xianxia Land Spirit had turned from an old human man into a muscular hairy man. Fang Yuan was also very surprised by Xianxia Land Spirit's transformation. Immediately, he took a few steps back as he looked at Xianxia Land Spirit warily. Xianxia Land Spirit slowly raised his head, he looked at Mo Tansang who was sitting on the ground, sighing deeply, how can I not be Xianxia Land Spirit? How many years has it been, ever since that myriad tribulation, because I was weakened severely, that weak fellow took over control. Xianxia Land Spirit said that and shouted loudly, raising his head, how many years has it been? He sucked in a deep breath, he showed an excited and ruthless expression, he clenched his fists, his bulging muscles were thicker than Mo Tansang's legs, I am finally back. Fang Yuan was frowning, he had a few questions internally as he retreated again by a few steps. You two do not need to be suspicious, I am Xianxia Land Spirit, the real deal. Xianxia Land Spirit raised his head, his gaze was like a dagger as he stared right at Fang Yuan and Mo Tansang. My main body was a hairy man, but after I died, I had 2 obsessions. There was only one Land Spirit position, but the 2 obsessions were equally matched, neither could suppress the other. In the end, we could only combine together and become Xianxia Land Spirit. The one you two are familiar with is merely the obsession over space escape immortal Gu. Xianxia Land Spirit snorted, explaining. 2 obsessions. Mo Tansang's expression froze. Fang Yuan reacted much quicker than him, he asked, then, Land Spirit, what is your condition for acknowledging a new master? The earlier Xianxia Land Spirit's condition was to solve the issue of why space escape immortal Gu could not enter the space cave. Fang Yuan definitely could not fulfill it. But now, Xianxia Land Spirit had changed greatly, according to his words, he had a different obsession. In that case, his condition would definitely be different as well. Humph. To get me to acknowledge a new master, you are not qualified. The hairy man Xianxia land spirit stared at Fang Yuan. He had a more arrogant and strong tone than his human form. How am I not qualified? Fang Yuan did not lose his temper, he asked calmly. Xianxia land spirit crossed his arms, he laughed arrogantly. My ambition is to make all of the hairy men in the world become the ones in charge. Any variant human, including you humans, has to cower at the feet of us hairy men. You will all become the slaves of hairy men, begging for survival at our feet, as tiny insignificant ants. Whichever hairy man can achieve this target would become the new master of Xianxia land spirit. Ha ha ha. Mo Tan Sang was stunned. Fang Yuan was speechless. No wonder he was not qualified, because Fang Yuan was not a hairy man. He could not even attempt this. Having two obsessions is not impossible in theory. No wonder Long Hair Ancestor was called Long Hair, his real identity was a hairy man. So this is why Long Hair Ancestor had incredible talent, but in history, there were no records of him ever being recruited by Heavenly Court. No wonder. When I asked Xianxia land spirit to sell me hairy man slaves in the past, he rejected me directly with a firm stance. Fang Yuan started to believe Xianxia land spirit's words. After all, from start to finish, he was watching the entire scene. He had confirmed this using dozens of investigative killer moves. This means that after Long Hair Ancestor died, he had two obsessions. One was his refinement path obsession, it was concerning Space Escape Immortal Gu and Great Dream Immortal Venerable. The other obsession was his species obsession, because Long Hair Ancestor was a hairy man, and because hairy men were suppressed by humans, such a strong obsession formed in him. Fang Yuan's expression turned grave. The Xianxia land spirit in front of him not only had a change in appearance, his personality also changed completely. Their earlier relationship was useless now. At this moment, what attitude would this Xianxia land spirit have towards the human Fang Yuan? Chapter 880, Fearsome. Xianxia land spirit vs. Qin by Sheng. Don't be nervous lad, I will not attack you. Xianxia land spirit stared at Fang Yuan with the eyes of a tiger, he said with a playful tone, although you, lad, have taken advantage of me many times. All of those deals earlier were fair transactions. Fang Yuan had a plain expression as he denied the accusations. Humph, you were able to develop to this extent, one reason was that you had obtained quite a lot of resources from that weak fellow. But I do not mind it, we can still cooperate. Xianxia land spirit said coldly. Fang Yuan squinted his eyes, he said with seeming disbelief, aren't you thinking of toppling humans, and establishing the rulership of hairy men? Of course I am. Xianxia land spirit replied without hesitation, but success is a slow process, we have to walk one step at a time. To fulfill my ambitions, I need to understand reality. Even my main body had to disguise as a human when he was alive. To achieve the hegemony of hairy men, it is a necessity to cooperate with humans. Surprise flashed across Fang Yuan's eyes. The new Xianxia land spirit in front of him, even though his obsession was unrealistic, he acted quite logically, he had a deep and clear understanding towards his environment and the situation around him. Mo Tan Sang got up slowly while the two of them were talking, he healed his injuries. My plan is flawless. Xianxia land spirit's eyes shined with brilliance, he said in a profound tone, first, I will use benefits to rope in a bunch of human Gu immortals, I will use humans to deal with humans, destroying them from the inside. I will recruit all these human Gu immortals and make them into the hunting dogs of us hairy men. You are one of my targets, ahaha. As he said that, towards the end, he pointed at Fang Yuan and laughed with his head raised up. Fang Yuan. Mo Tan Sang. Land spirit indeed could not lie, he completely exposed all of his schemes and plans. At the next moment, the land spirit also felt something amiss, he stopped laughing as he stroked his chin, regret flashed across his face as he said, ah. I got excited and said all of my plans out loud. Fang Yuan. Mo Tan Sang. As for you, the Inkman Gu immortal. At this time, Langya Land's spirit's gaze turned from Fang Yuan to Mo Tan, saying, I am not that weak fellow. Because he was afraid of getting exposed, he rejected many opportunities for cooperation with you. I am very interested in all those proposals you gave me. Especially those that involve toppling human tribes and plotting against human tribes. Speaking of which, the humans are too powerful now. Against them, we variant humans are natural allies. Work with us hairy men, your Inkman city will develop even faster, it will grow even stronger. Mo Tan Sang's injury was not heavy, he healed quickly. Hearing Langya Land Spirit's words, Mo Tan Sang felt a sense of having good times ahead. He gave Fang Yuan a subtle glance. At this point, he still did not know that this Star Path Gu immortal was the Fang Yuan he knew. Ha ha ha. Langya Land Spirit thought of something brilliant, he laughed again, these stupid ink men. That's right, if I want my hairy man race to become the rulers, we will need to make use of these ink men, feathermen and others. On the day I succeed, I will make all of them slaves, and squeeze out their value. These ink men in Inkman City could be preferentially treated, of course. After all, they are immortal Yi Yan's descendants. I can make their king into a puppet, this plan is too brilliant. Fang Yuan. Mo Tan Sang. Langya Land's spirit saw their speechless expressions and was slightly stunned. He showed a serious expression as he rubbed his chin. I accidentally said my thoughts out loud again, Fang Yuan finally was relieved. Such a person like Langya Land's spirit, how could he possibly achieve the rulership of hairy men? Mo Tan Sang covered his face with his hands. Even though he was an inkman and not a hairy man, he felt ashamed for Langya Land's spirit. As Qin Baixing got closer, the cloud building was already in his attacking range. The land spirit and 2 Gu immortals are inside the building. Qin Baixing had quite an impressive investigative immortal killer move. He could see many details of Fang Yuan's side. Qin Baixing's eyes squinted as he flew slower, his right hand waved in front of him. Bam! Golden light burst out, the figure of a huge golden hammer formed instantly and shot out, slamming at the cloud building. The air currents were fierce as the golden hammer figure had a threatening aura. It was even larger than the cloud building. The relatively large cloud building was shrouded under the golden hammer, it became very weak looking. Metal Path Immortal Killer Move, City Crushing Hammer. What audacity! At the next moment, a figure came out of the cloud building, shouting fiercely. It was Langya Land's spirit. The land spirit did not dodge, he directly faced the giant hammer. The moment his thick and strong arms interacted with the city-crushing hammer, dozens of goo worms flew out and circled around the land spirit. Rule Path Immortal Killer Move, Cleanse Sky. In an instant, the giant golden hammer vanished without a trace, like it had never existed previously. Only the air currents that were created by the hammer were left, they caused strong winds to blow unceasingly. Langya Land Spirit. Seeing the Langya Land Spirit that had undergone a transformation, even the mysterious Shadow Sect Vice Envoy, Qin Baixing, showed a peculiar expression. He asked uncertainly. It is me, your grandfather. Langya Land Spirit shouted. After destroying the hammer, he did not fall back, he charged towards Qin Baixing. He was indeed different from the previous Langya Land Spirit. Their personalities were two different extremes. This one was bold and filled with battle intent. Fang Yuan and Mo Tan Sang watched from behind with much apprehension. The land spirit represented the world. It was the most crucial factor when Gu immortals attacked a blessed land. Normally speaking, the land spirit would conceal themselves and use the entire blessed land to deal with the invaders. After all, the land spirit could manipulate the blessed land. If it was caught or destroyed, it would be way easier to take down the blessed land. But Langya Land Spirit, after transforming into a hairy man's appearance, was different. He charged ahead. Even though Qin Baixing displayed fearsome strength, his terrifying battle strength did not deter Langya Land Spirit at all. He Cheng, who was at the side, laughed. He felt that with Qin Baixing's strength, Langya Land Spirit was simply courting his own doom. But as the target, Qin Baixing had a serious expression. Since he had invaded Xianxia blessed land, this was the first time he stepped back and retreated, unexpectedly. He mainly cultivated Soul Path and secondarily Metal Path. A common technique of his was to use the Immortal Killer move Soul Suppression, but it was useless on Xianxia Land Spirit. Soul Suppression had a huge advantage because Qin Baixing used his own Soul's Foundation to suppress his enemies. The difference in Soul Foundation made the Immortal Killer move, Soul Suppression, have an immense effect. Earlier in Luopa Valley, Qin Baixing used Soul Suppression and defeated He Lang Zi, who had transformed into a giant wolf, in one move. Just earlier, Qin Baixing used the Soul Suppression Killer move and immobilized the Inkman Gu Immortal, before using a Metal Path Killer move to behead the Inkman Gu Immortal. But against Xianxia Land Spirit, Soul Suppression had no effect. The reason? Because Xianxia Land Spirit was a special existence, he had no soul. He was an obsession formed together with heavenly power, a sort of spirit that was neither real nor fake. He did not have a physical body, and did not have a soul. To make a comparison, it was just like scolding someone. Qin Baixing had the Soul Suppression Killer move. It was as if he could directly scold someone to death with his words. But Xianxia Land Spirit could not understand a word he was saying, no matter what curses he uttered. To Xianxia Land Spirit, it was like random noise, because the Land Spirit could not understand it at all. Qin Baixing was aware of this. Furthermore, Xianxia Land Spirit was acting strange, thus he decided to retreat and see what this Land Spirit was up to. With Qin Baixing stepping back, Xianxia Land Spirit's vigor rose. He did not relent at all. Immortal Killer move, Great Thousand Spears. Immortal Killer move, Triple Desolation. Immortal Killer move, Lightning Chaotic Starfire. Countless golden spears shot out. They were like a dense forest that shot towards Qin Baixing from all directions. Qin Baixing quickly defended himself. A huge pillar appeared around him, and around the pillar, there was a 5-clawed golden dragon coiling around it. The golden dragon pillar was able to stop the Great Thousand Spears temporarily, but white hair started to appear on Qin Baixing's hair. His lifespan was shortening. This was the power of the Time Path Killer move Triple Desolation. Great Thousand Spears rained down like a storm. It was powerful and grand. Triple Desolation was mysterious and hard to defend against. Mixed in with that were lighting starfires. They were able to sneak into the golden dragon pillar and burn Qin Baixing's flesh as they came into contact. The Land Spirit raised his head. The countless goo worms around his body vanished, and appeared again. After using them, they vanished again. One after another, Immortal Gu and countless Mortal Gu showcased themselves. Immortal Killer move, Yellow Wood Rustling. Immortal Killer move, Ruined Blood Flying Dust. Immortal Killer move, Slaughtering Immortal Guillotine. The Wood Path Killer move made the leaves in the area fly around. The Blade Path Killer move slashed forward without obstacles. It was a beautiful move. There was also a Blood Path Killer move mixed in. A light smoke that was blood red in color coiled around Qin Baixing's waist. Qin Baixing was too busy defending himself. He had to retreat again. The Land Spirit shouted again, chasing after him. On his body, countless Mortal Gu and Immortal Gu swapped out again like a change of clothes. Immortal Killer move, Shattered Ice Armor. Immortal Killer move, Mixed Hole Drill. Immortal Killer move, Wishful Shadow Sword. Ice Path, Space Path, and Dark Path Killer moves were used in succession. Qin Baixing defended himself as he retreated once more. Xianxia Land Spirit advanced more and more. His aura was surging as his Immortal Killer moves struck like a flash flood. Qin Baixing could not do anything but retreat. The more Qin Baixing moved back, the more passive he was, and the more Xianxia Land Spirit fought like a maniac. The two sides retreated and advanced respectively, until they were tens of li away. The spectating He Qing, Fang Yuan, and Mo Tan Sang were dumbfounded. Xianxia Blessed Land's foundation was very abundant. It had many Immortal Gu stored up. Long Hair Ancestor did not lack Immortal Killer moves, and it even had the Heavenly Essence Treasure Imperial Lotus. It had accumulated an untold amount of Immortal Essence. With such a huge foundation, Xianxia Land's spirit could attack in such a frenzied manner, he could totally withstand the expenditure. Even Feng Yuan was starting to suspect that Xianxia Land's spirit could keep up such an insane fighting style for 3 days and 3 nights unceasingly. In fact, this was the first time Feng Yuan had seen a land spirit that had such great battle strength and had such a ruthless nature.